Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Reunion of Final Fantasy VII Remake podcast. I'm your host, Kairosis, and joining me today, of course, I have my amazing co-host, Vyzz. How are you, Vyzz?
Hello, Kai. I'm good. I slept pretty well and I'm much less tired than yesterday.
Yeah, I totally hear you. I've just been exhausted with work and not feeling the greatest today. Something going on with my stomach, but it's okay. We're going to power through this and just get it out there for everybody to listen.
Yeah, I hope you'll be well enough soon enough again.
So just want to take a second to shout out to everybody who has listened and subscribed to the podcast so far. The feedback's been awesome. We really appreciate you guys taking the time out to listen to the podcast and to listen and subscribe. We are doing an amazing giveaway still that's going on. We will be giving away a physical deluxe edition of the game. So in order to enter, what you have to do is subscribe on any of the podcast platforms that you listen to your podcasts, leave us a 5-star rating, and write us a text review. Some of you guys have reached out to us and let us know that some of the podcast platforms that you use to listen to us on do not have like a review or a rating system. So if that happens to you, all you have to do is you can go to our YouTube channel. You can subscribe to us on the YouTube channel and just leave a comment on one of our episode videos that are posted on our YouTube channel. So for our first segment today, we are talking about the recently released intro movie that Square Enix released last Friday, which was on Valentine's Day. And we will also be discussing the character art that was released. We got some screenshots, DLC summon videos that were shown last week as well. And that also included new info about Tifa combat. And there were some screenshots showing some side quests and how the side quests will work in the game. Our second segment, we will be featuring a discussion about our apprehensions about the game. For example, we'll be talking about what would make us feel more negative about the game and what would make us feel kind of like not into the game. Also, we will be talking about what makes Final Fantasy VII actually Final Fantasy VII and what does the new content need to accomplish for us to feel that it fits into the Final Fantasy VII remake. All right, so we're talking about the opening movie trailer that was released. So, just a recap of all the new stuff that we got in the trailer. This one's a little bit different than the one that we saw before the beginning of the demo that's been shown at all the gaming conventions last year. So, it starts out showing the desolate area outside of Midgar. Everything looks kind of dead and basically like a desert with canyons. We are following a bird that's flying towards Midgar with little parts of like vocal parts of One Winged Angel being heard that are mixed in with the intro music. And then the bird flies into Midgar, and we get a closer look at Midgar, kind of the scale, what life looks like in Midgar for the citizens. We got to look at some children riding their bicycles, busy streets with the old-fashioned looking cars, street workers. We got to look at the train, the highway. And I think they really did a great job with kind of the steampunk style and just updating that style and bringing it to us, in 2020. Also, there was some foreshadowing with the dying flower in front of the playground, which I thought was awesome. We did get to see the same children that were riding their bikes later on in the opening movie, where they're playing at the famous playground that's I guess in Sector 5. And then it looks like the Sector 5 reactor explodes. We kind of got a close up of the little girl's eye. And I remember that this was shown quite a while ago, and people were trying to decipher, I guess, like more information from just looking at the reflection of the eye to see what she was looking at that time. And then we got a kind of a zoom around shot of the Mako particles, and then like a bird's eye view of Aerith, and then obviously it kind of transitions into the more traditional opening that we are used to seeing with the Final Fantasy VII original. So I'm just going to go into a little bit about my thoughts. I was surprised actually that we got something this soon after the theme song trailer that we talked about on the last episode, because this always happens to us. We always record and then something is released like pretty much the day after or the 2 days after we actually end up releasing the episode. So
We're kind of cursed this way.
yeah.
I know.
So my friend actually showed it to me, and then I thought that it was actually the leaked opening from the demo. So my initial reaction was kind of not to watch it. So I was kind of like, no, no, like they were showing it to me on their phone, and they were just like, hey, look, like, look, this was just posted, whatever. And I kind of freaked out and was like, wait, is this like the leak stuff? Because I don't like, I can't, spoil it. So I don't want to see it. And they were like, no, it just released. So it just says that it's the opening movie. So then I was like, oh, okay. So I went ahead and watched it and I really loved it a lot. Like I said in the previous episode, I recently rewatched Advent Children. So at the beginning, it gave me a lot of those vibes that I got from watching Advent Children at the beginning, where it's desolate. It's kind of like it's dead and it's dusty and it's like a desert, and there's, canyons and everything. And I felt like it was more effective in portraying kind of the darkness and the evilness, I guess, that is behind the story of Final Fantasy VII, more so than how I felt when I was watching Advent Children. I did appreciate the mixing of the vocal parts of One Wing Angel in the intro music. I thought that it was really well done, and I enjoyed the foreshadowing with the music there. So, also I thought, like, is this a random bird, or maybe is this Genova? Like, do we know? Do we not know? Like, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, or
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just a usual bird, like a device to guide us through the wasteland to Midgar.
right.
But I don't think there's much more to it, at least not yet. But we never know.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that they did a really good job of showing how vast the world is and how lived in the world is by showing us more of an everyday look at the lives of the citizens of Midgar. They also stayed pretty true to the original intro, and I think the updates benefit the intro. And I love how the camera just swings around after the Sector 5 explosion and shows us an up close look at the Mako particles and showing us Aerith. And I think that she's looking awesome. They did change her character model again. I think the changes made her skin look a little different. I thought it was more like imperfect looking before. People were complaining online, obviously, in Japan, I guess, about her character model. And um, I think they made her eyes look greener and brighter to match the Mako. But I'm happy with it. I think it's, I think it's fine. So after that, it's pretty much just a basic copy of the original intro, and I just love the zooming in and out of the camera like the original, just to show the hugeness of Midgar, and how the meteor just kind of falls into the title is amazing, and we get like this explosion of light with this high pitched little synth sound right before it drops, like the drums and the brass section of the intro music.
Yeah, that one was awesome.
It just totally brought me back to like when I was young, just, playing this game, and it really hit me there. So I really appreciated that. Just like the small things, that they're doing, that they're adding in. It really shows their attention to detail and how much that I think they're trying to please the original fans of the original Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, kind of like the battle theme where the metallic
Yeah.
in the chorus, I
Mhm.
think, or
Mhm.
in the rising melody is also still there, kind of almost like the MIDI sound, just a little bit lighter or clearer.
Mhm.
I
Exactly.
like that. So many details they retained from the old one.
Yeah, and I was watching a reaction video, the Max Dude reaction video on YouTube, and I remember watching his reaction, and I had similar reaction to when I was watching the intro as well. And he was asking, I guess, like he was kind of freaking out, like, is this in-game graphics? Like, is this CGI? Like he said it was so good, like he couldn't tell. But for me, like I noticed that it was obviously CGI, and then they really trick you because after, the train starts going and it shows Cloud on top of the train for the first bombing mission, and then it goes through you can tell that it switches to in-game graphics when it goes through, I guess, the steam or the cloud of smoke that the train goes through.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then you can see like the textures kind of change and it looks more like in-game graphics. So,
And you can also see some anti-aliasing going on.
uh-huh.
Not. I mean, not no. I mean, aliasing. Anti-aliasing would be the smoothness, but some lines look a little bit jagged. It's
Uh-huh.
just barely noticeable, but I did see it. So whenever you see that, it's definitely rendered in game
Yeah.
or in engine.
So what did you think about this opening movie?
Where to start? Well, all in all, I thought it was pure awesomeness. I think they increased the scope of the intro so much, because in the original we had just the space camera pan and swiveling, so to speak, like all the stars moving around, and then transitioning to Aerith. But here it's a whole slew of scenes showing Midgar, and I really like that. So, but I think it also makes sense, because in the original game it was the whole story, and it was the big bad, so to speak, was Jenova coming from space, and then Sephiroth using her. So that it makes sense to start with space, where everything started, the calamity from the skies, and then transitioning to Aerith, one of the ancients, the Cetra, who fended off Jenova the first time. But here it's only about Midgar, so it makes total sense to show Midgar, everything that has to do with Midgar, Shinra, Mako drainage or livestream drainage out of the planet, and the citizens, where we want to see more of, and makes a lot more sense this way. And also, as you said, Mako reactor then spouts out some particles, which then transition into Aerith, make much more sense in this context. And before, at the start, when we see the eagle flying through the wasteland, it's definitely depicting the wasteland outside of Midgar. You can see Midgar in the back there, surrounded by smog clouds, I think. And this really shows how much life Midgar has already, or Shinra has already sucked out of the planet. And it starts with that, and which is also one of the main themes of the first game. It's lovely made, definitely. Also, it reminds me of when the eagle, or is it a falcon, is flying into Midgar. Kind of reminds me of the first reveal teaser, where we saw a dove flying through the clouds and into the outskirts of Midgar.
Right.
There are more of that, but I'll get to those a bit later.
Yeah.
What I really like is the life we see in Midgar. Like, we see the children riding through the streets with, I don't know, are those 50s clothing? I don't really know, or 60s. Just old, retro, along with all the cars and many buildings kind of look old and retro, not really modern like the skyscrapers around. So it's kind of a dichotomy between old and new everywhere you look. And I also like how the children race through every single scene. You can see them race past the building site, past the guys exchanging Mako canisters in the vehicles. You also see a dog kind of scouring through trash. So it's not all hunky-dory and rainbows and unicorns over there. Yeah. It's really great to see actually the meat of the city where the whole game takes place. And a small little throwback to one of the original renders. I think you have seen it too. There's this what is it? This grappling, or
it's like a
arm, this hand.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's like a tractor.
This construction machine, tractor. That's carrying this pipe with a robot hand. I think it's the same robot hand you also see in Sector 6 in the crushed highway or broken highway.
Yeah.
It's really great. They're putting so much details in this that kind of brings up all the nostalgia. And those people are racing towards the playground, which kind of reminds me of the playground in Sector 6. It's not exactly the same, but it looks similar. This is also where it quickly changes to the withering flower you mentioned before. Yeah. Which kind of has a double meaning, one of Shinra draining the life force out of all the plants, and since it's a lily, foreshadowing for Aerith.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also maybe like everybody dying as well from the
Yeah,
explosions. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
just
that's could be part two. Yeah. What I also really like is how when it transitions to dusk, well, while the children are playing on the playground, you see the lights flicker on from the lanterns, and their shadows are getting longer.
yeah.
So this is also kind of, I think, a metaphor for how everything is going down the drain.
Yeah, I liked that.
Yeah. Also, the girl sliding down the slide here
Hmm.
is also a scene from the reveal teaser. The kids
Yes.
playing too,
Yeah.
although they don't play with swords but with a soccer ball. And then the girl looks up to the
Right.
Mako reactor, same eye shot, but much better. The graphical fidelity is awesome in this one.
Hmm.
It had three iterations so far, and this one is the best, I think.
Yeah.
And then Mako reactor number 5, igniting, starting to drain everything out of, and then transitions to Aerith. I think it's beautifully made. The whole scenes
Yeah.
and chain of events really shows everything, including all the trains and the transportation, highways. And as you said, Aerith has changed, but not just Aerith, but also the lighting. It's also
Yeah.
more focused on the Mako light,
Hmm.
which I quite like.
Hmm.
And for those who haven't seen the leaked intro from the demo, there's also a new segment in the intro where Aerith kind of senses something back in the alley,
Right.
looks back down, and then gets scared, gets up, and rushes out.
Hmm.
And that's also where Sephiroth's chant is also playing again.
Yes.
I think she senses something there.
Hmm.
Maybe it's the Guardians of Fate that appear when she meets Cloud.
Right.
Maybe they're already kind of swirling around, or if maybe it's just Sephiroth she senses through the
Hmm.
Mako, through the live stream. We don't know yet, I guess. Also, the light flickers a bit, so there's definitely something up.
Hmm.
And outside, of course, all the passerbys don't really care, bump into Aerith. A few flowers fall out of the basket.
Hmm.
One even steps on it because he doesn't see anything, because
Hmm.
it carries a crate in front of him. And then that's where the part of the E3 intro kicks in. That's practically the same afterwards.
Yeah.
With a little change that we see the full Midgar and the title card,
Yeah.
and the zooming in again, because in the E3 trailer there was just blackness between the train scenes, the train shots.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it also zooms by one of those platforms, which also existed in the original render, but we
Yeah.
didn't see much of them.
Yeah, somebody had commented that they were like, "What is that? Like they're changing the game, they're adding these extra platforms in." And I was like, "No, like it's always been
Yeah,
there." It's just that
it's always been there,
yeah, you just couldn't see it that clearly because it was so pixelated in the original game, but it was
yeah,
there.
exactly, yeah. Funny. But well, yeah, then the ingenious transition from CGI or pre-rendered to in-game, which I really like.
Hmm.
Then it's practically the same scene we also see in the original in-game graphics, just of course spruced up, and the guards patrolling. It's just not that cheap anymore. And I
Yeah.
really like how they kind of reinterpreted this scene. Also, something really funny I noticed is that Wedge jumps over the incapacitated guard when they run towards Barrett.
Yeah.
Barrett gives him the signal, then they run back again, and Wedge jumps over the same guy yet again. Wedge, the heaviest of them all, it's just funny.
Yeah.
This is also one of the many examples where I have faith in the remake retaining the campiness and the comical side of things.
I also thought that the voice acting was really well done, but just the soldier like units that were there, like I guess it's just like he kind of goes
Yeah,
like yeah.
it's
And I'm just like,
yeah.
what is happening? I mean, I know what's happening, but I was just
Yeah.
like, when you watch the trailer, it's just kind of like, it's kind of loud, so you're just kind of like, oh, like okay, so that happened, and then it turns and
Yeah.
it shows that one of them's on the ground, but I was just like, wow, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was really great. Then unfortunately it stopped, but in the leaked intro from the demo, we see the camera turning around Cloud, and then it throws you right into gameplay. Then
Mm-hmm.
it's of course it cut out before the guards came,
Yeah.
but it was nice to see that everything is like one continuous camera shot, so to speak. It doesn't
Yes.
just cut and then you're in the game, but it's like in Kingdom Hearts 3. It says the camera pans around Sora to the back, and then you're
Yeah.
right in the gameplay without any visible transition. It's great.
Exactly. And the cutscenes, I mean, like, this is an intro CGI movie, like, cutscene, right? Like, at the beginning, I guess, when you load it up and then you press start or whatever, and then you load into
Hmm.
the game, this is probably what plays, and then you start playing the game, which is just amazing that it's part of the actual game and it makes sense. You know what I mean? Because I remember playing Final Fantasy 13, and I mean, you play through, you know what I mean? Like, you're battling these enemies and everything, but then you have to wait and there's a loading screen, and then it would play a CGI cutscene, and it's just not consecutive. Like, what
Yeah,
it
right,
cuts up the
right.
gameplay, so then you're kind of pulled out of it. And sometimes it didn't make sense in the context of like what you were actually trying to do. So I don't know. I really like this a lot more. It's consecutive with like what you're doing. It makes sense, and then you just continue to play. And I'm assuming that it's going to be this way for like most of the game. I hope so.
I think so too. Yeah, it just flows very well. It's
Yeah,
this flow, this continuous game loop, so to speak, and not
exactly.
interrupting you with loading screens and cuts or
Mm-hmm.
something else. Just when you go into the menu or load a save, then of course it has to load. Well,
Mm-hmm.
not the menu, but the save loading. But other than that, I think they might have taken inspiration from God of War, maybe, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's just a coincidence because God of War had, I think, when you don't stop playing, it's just one single camera pan or
Yeah,
camera thing. It never cuts anywhere. It doesn't even cut between characters. It's just constantly moving, not cutting
exactly.
anywhere. And
Yeah.
that's really a great achievement, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't rip you out of the experience. It's like
Exactly.
if you're there, because when you're in real life, you also don't get those cuts.
No, exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting what you said before as well, that the original intro showed, the outer space, and how now they're not showing that part. So
Hmm.
they're using the Mako particles to kind of create the same feeling that you got when you played the original, and it shows kind of like the camera is panning down and then like the stars are moving. Do you know what I mean? Like, I thought that that was
Yeah.
so awesome that they just changed
Hmm.
it, and it makes sense in the context of what we're getting in this first part, but yet it stayed so true to the original, and but yet updated it. And I thought that it was incredible. I thought it was awesome. Like, I just can't wait to play this game now. I mean, I always felt that way, but
Definitely,
now it's
yeah.
just like I just had that
Yeah.
feeling, that it was just, yeah, I'm really happy with this intro movie. So
Yeah, the stars in the original were also too long. I think the camera in the stars. I
I
think
think
it
so
went on
too.
for about a minute,
Hmm.
and it's just waiting for, well, what happens now? What is it? When does the game start? When
Yeah,
do I see
exactly.
something?
Yeah.
Especially on replays when you
Hmm.
can skip scenes. So this started to bother me over time.
Hmm.
So I really like how they start with the clouds and then the birds swooping in. You see the barren wasteland. You also see, okay, here something is up here. There's
Yeah.
no life. Then you see this huge bustling city with skyscrapers and highways and
Hmm.
kids riding along the streets and everything. But then you also see, well, and the folk that don't have it well, especially with the dog almost starving to death.
Hmm.
So you already get the feeling that there's wealth, but there's also poorness, like the class divide.
Hmm. Exactly.
So that's really well pictured and well done, I think.
Yeah, I liked also how they kind of foreshadow that, something's lurking there in that
Mm.
alleyway. And we talked about this
Oh, right,
before
yeah.
with Aerith and just the chants from One Wing Angel and just that evilness and that foreshadowing that there's something there, and she's sensing this, and this makes sense in the context of the fact that she is an ancient, you know what I
Mhm.
mean, and she has these abilities, and
Yeah, she has the
she
connection to the live stream.
exactly, so it makes sense in the beginning, in the original. I mean obviously, like, we didn't know before. Well, I didn't know anyway, because I didn't know what the game was about. I didn't know anything about the story. There was no internet. I never had anybody to talk to. I never had the game guide. I never had, like, so I'm watching this. I don't know who this person is. I don't know
Mhm.
what she's doing. I just thought she was just hanging out in the alley in the city or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But now it's
Mhm.
just like there's more context given and there's more story there. So you're kind of left asking questions like, oh, what was that about? What's this? Like, are we going to see something later on that this is going to pay
Yeah,
off from them showing us this kind of thing? So I liked that. A lot of people didn't
definitely.
like it, but I did like it. And I think that it fits the context of the remake and what they're trying to do.
Yeah, that's just one detail I didn't really like, and I don't quite know why they did this, but that's the Sephiroth chant over the music in the part before Aerith,
Oh,
where
okay.
we see Midgar. It's kind of the music tells us there's well, at least uh, us, the ones that know how the story ends, and that Sephiroth is the real big bad. We know, okay, it's
Mm-hmm.
about him, but Shinra and Midgar, this portion is not really about him.
Yeah.
So I don't quite know why they put this one in the intro. I like that they interjected the chant when Aerith was in the alleyway.
Mm-hmm.
That I really like, because that has the real connection to Aerith and to Guardians of Fate, probably, that appear later on. But when showing Midgar and the citizens, maybe you can say, okay, well, there's a looming evil that is maybe relevant in the next
Mm-hmm.
game. Well, it's already relevant in this one, but more so to Cloud and the group, and not really to Shinra and the end game in this part, I feel. So I kind of find it strange why they put so much emphasis on Sephiroth. But again, that's me speaking from experience. I know
Mm-hmm.
the game, all the ins and outs, but someone who hasn't played the game at all, doesn't know about it. Uh,
Exactly.
well, they don't really have an idea what this chant and this Sephiroth One Winged Angel song is all about. So they just hear some ominous choir chanting, I
Exactly.
don't
Yeah.
know, something evil. I guess it's just, I guess some parts they tailor to newcomers, and some parts, or most of the other parts, they tailor to those already in the know, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can't just claim the game for our own. The game is also for newcomers, so we also have to keep this in mind.
Yeah, I think like what you said, I agree with what you said. And I think that, like you said, they're catering to a new audience. So these people that never played the original Final Fantasy VII, they're not going to know that that's, you know, One Wing Angel and that's associated with
Mm-hmm.
Sephiroth. And that's, when does that song play in the original and it's not in the beginning. Like, they're not going to know any of that, but they are going to get this kind of creepy, evil kind of feeling with watching it, because it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like not everything is what it seems. Like, that's what I got
Exactly.
from it, because it was more like, from the outside it looks like this dystopian society where, because following the bird, it looks like, oh, it's this huge city, it's industrial, and then it zooms in and then you can see, like you said, there's like a starving dog, and then there's, it looks like there's poor people, and
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of dirty, and the flowers dying, and then the little kids
Yeah,
seeing
exactly.
that they, like, it's just kind of like creates that emotion, I guess, and that feeling that maybe that's what they were going with. And I'm okay with that. I like that, but I'm open to that. Some people aren't, and that's okay. But
Yeah, sure. What I'm also asking myself is, do we actually hear more parts of the One Winged Angel song in this part already? Maybe somewhere towards the end where Sephiroth is more involved,
mhm.
or actually on the loose, at least Genova version of him,
Right.
because then it has the connection to the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of introduces an element that we don't know what it's about, at least the newcomers don't.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you have played through the game, you know what this chant is about, and then you play it again, and then, oh, okay, that's why.
And I agree with you. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Shinra, but I think like what Aerith said in the last trailer at the end, she said like Shinra Power Company are not the greatest threat, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, yeah, they're playing it, and I know that it's Sephiroth, but it's not necessarily meaning that like Shinra is the enemy. I'm seeing it as like everybody thinks that this is the way things are, but they actually have no idea what's going to happen
coming, yeah.
and what's coming. And that's what I
Yeah.
felt by just seeing the bird alone flying into
I see.
kind of like they don't know what's coming, and that represents Sephiroth kind of. Which is why I was kind of asking, like, oh, is this Genova Sephiroth but shapeshifted into a bird? Because Genova shows something familiar, I guess, like to
Well, she's
whoever
not on the
sees
loose
it
yet.
or whatever. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Anyway, this
So-
is just my mind kind of going and
Yeah, sure,
like
of course.
making
it could
these
be some-
connections, you know, like
It could be some imagery, like you said, something is coming, and the bird is literally the evil that comes to Midgard, then flies into and then festers. I don't know.
and
Could
it's
be
so
kind of illusion.
it's like it's not seen as initially being a threat too, because it's just a harmless bird, right? Like a hawk or an eagle or whatever it is. Like people would not like suspect that kind of thing. So anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on, we did get a bunch of new screenshots. We got some new character key art for the DLC summons, including Choco Chick, Cactuar, and Carbuncle. We got a few sample videos showing how these DLC summons will work in battle. We did get to see also some character key art for Hojo and Red 13. I think that we saw the Red 13 one before, I'm not sure, but this was posted on the PlayStation blog and not by, I guess, on the Square Enix
press site.
Yeah, exactly. There was some controversy online about, I guess, the Carbuncle and the Choco Chick designs, as they have larger heads. So honestly, it was just kind of like bound to happen, I guess, with people making, you know, memes and things and posting them on Facebook groups and on the Reddit and everything. And it just kind of went too far. And I was just like, okay, I just...
Well, there is one funny one. That's the Chocobo Chick, really tiny, and the huge hair explosion forming the meteor of the Final Fantasy VII logo. That's really genuinely funny. I like that.
I saw that. Yeah, I really like that. Yeah. So whoever made that, props to you, because that was
definitely
really good.
Kudos.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, like, okay, let's talk about this for a second, okay? So I have played the other Final Fantasy games. I know Carbuncle wasn't in Final Fantasy VII, the original. So I'm sure that they thought about, well, we can have more liberties, I guess, to kind of change the design up and make it different, I guess, for the remake. And also the fact that it wasn't in the original. But they do have kind of this basis of what the character has looked like throughout, you know, X amount of games that Carbuncle has been in. And I, for me personally, I think it's fine. I think it's cute, but I think that they could have went back and kind of changed it a little bit so that it was closer to what we know from it looking like in the other Final Fantasies. But I'm open to them changing it. Like, I don't really have an attachment to this character. Did I like it in Final Fantasy 15? I liked it more, the design in 15, because I think it was more closer to the original of what we know, because the ears are really long, and how, you know, the horn, like now it's a diamond, like it's not a horn per se anymore. So, you know, I'm okay with it. I think it's cute. I think it looks like a little puppy dog, and when it like it showed it in battle and it jumps in and it makes these cute little sounds, I'm into it. Like, I'm okay with it. I'm not gonna not play this game because of what a summon, like a DLC summon, looks like. I've looked online. People are like, I'm canceling my pre-order. Oh my god!
Well,
like, I just
those are over exaggerating anyway.
like, I mean, I'm buying multiple copies of this game. Like, it's too late to go back now. Like,
Yeah, sure.
and you can just choose not to use them if you don't want to look at
Yeah.
them. You know what I mean? But
And you only get him by purchasing the Soldier First Class edition anyway, and the Digital Deluxe edition.
yeah,
Otherwise, you'd have to wait for paid DLC, and if you don't like him, just don't buy him. Don't use him. It's that simple.
I did show my friend though that's like a Final Fantasy VII like diehard fan, and he just started laughing like so hard. And he was like,
Yeah.
"What is that?" And I'm like, "That's Carbuncle." And he was just like, "No, it's not. Like, that's not Carbuncle." And I'm like, "Well, it is now for Final Fantasy VII Remake." So,
Yeah.
anyway, and then we kind of had a conversation about like how much liberty, I guess, should the artists be given to kind of make changes like that. But I mean, anyway, this is what we're getting. And then people also were
Yeah.
referencing obviously the Sonic the Hedgehog
Oh yeah.
redo and how it's better now. And that's an example of how I guess the internet kind of coming together to promote that, you know, the creators change these things,
Mhm.
that is like a benefit because now the Sonic looks better. And I agree, the Sonic does look better. The old Sonic kind of looked creepy, but I think
Oh yeah.
what they were trying to go with, I think, was that they were trying to make him more realistic looking to fit him into the real
Yeah,
worlds
probably.
instead of having him just like as a cartoony kind of character. But if you're gonna make a Sonic the Hedgehog movie, like, come on, just leave him like that. Like, leave him
Yeah,
like
just keep the original design. Yeah.
exactly. Like, it's just gonna be weird and awkward when you're watching it and you're seeing how hard they tried to make him look like he actually existed in real life. I think that that's kind of what they're trying to do with Carbuncle.
But then I'm still asking myself why the big head. It doesn't really make any logical sense. I think I didn't come up with any reason why his head should be this big.
Yeah, I
A
agree
little
with
bit
you.
smaller would be better. I still think is cute
Yeah.
and looks good. Just the head a little smaller, please. The gem isn't that big, so that isn't the reason either. So I don't know.
My thought process was he's just got a really big brain.
Yeah, maybe.
And that's
It's
what he
a
uses.
mastermind.
Yeah, like, and I mean, the diamond's there, the gem is there, right? So it
Yeah.
looks like he's casting the spells from that. So I don't know, maybe
Yeah,
if they
definitely.
were thinking, oh, well, it's attached to his brain and he uses his brain power. Like, you know, I don't know. Anyway, I'm just trying to just kind
Rationalize
of
it, yeah.
rationalize it. Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with it. I'm gonna play this game. I think he's cute. I think that the face is cute. I think that his body's cute. I don't know. I'm okay with
Yeah.
it. So
I just thought of another meme, of a Carbuncle meme. Just the Carbuncle, and then put him on the deal with it sunglasses.
Oh, yeah.
Just that.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh.
spread it through the internet.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there were some
Somebody
really,
please do that.
there were some really, really bad ones though. And I was like, hey guys, like, you need to stop. Like, just
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it just goes overboard.
And then the Choco Chick design as well also has a larger head. So I don't know what it is with Square Enix just
I don't know.
deciding that they have larger heads. I think it's cute. My friend thought the face was scary, like creepy looking. Like the face
I
was
know
creepy.
why, yeah.
And it's
Kind
like,
of like a duck face on a chocobo.
yeah, that's
Sort
what he
of, yeah.
said. He said it looks like Donald Duck face on a
Yeah.
chocobo chick. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's kind of creepy, but it kind of reminds me of a Pokemon. So I don't know if maybe they were going closer to like, oh, the summons are more like Pokemon now because you like release them and they go out and they fight with you, maybe, because it does kind of look like Torchic, kind of, but like when it's evolved. I don't know what the names are. I forget. I've played the Pokemon games. I just forget. I haven't played them in a
Okay.
while. So, but it does look like that, and I'm okay with it.
You know what's funny? Choco Chick itself didn't remind me of Pokemon, but Cloud's lines like "You're up, it's your turn" or something like that kind of
Exactly.
remind me on
Ash.
oh, shoot a Pokeball at the enemy. It's your
Exactly.
turn.
Yeah,
Touch you.
exactly.
Kind of like that, yeah.
So, and I liked what you said before that when they enlarged it and it looked like the meteor kind of thing, is just hilarious. But it
Hmm.
does look like its hair is kind of shaped like Cloud's hair, so it kind of
Kind
looks
of, yeah.
like Cloud but designed as a chocobo chick. Anyway, I'm okay
Yeah.
with it. I've accepted it and I've just moved on from it. That
Yeah,
this is
same.
what they've decided to give us. So,
Well, Chocobo Chick makes a bit more sense
mhm.
because it's a chicken, it's a baby, so to speak, or a little child, and or a yeah, chicken,
Yeah,
and has a bigger head, but it's still a bit too big, maybe. I don't know.
yeah, I
But I
think
don't
so
really
too.
care. This is if that's the only problem with the game, then I'm more than happy.
Yeah, same here. So, also talking about Cactuar, so or Cactar, whatever you want to
Cactaria.
Cactar, Cactuar, whatever. So
Cacteur.
yeah,
French.
exactly. So he looks like he's just been updated. So like in HD, like he just looks like he's the same, but they just gave him more like HD textures basically. And I'm happy with this.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, it looks like we're getting the same ability, so 1,000 needles,
Hmm.
which is awesome. And it looks like, so talking about Carbuncle again, so the Carbuncle summon, it looks like that he'll buff the group. Looks like it casts barrier on everybody and also heals everybody when it leaves battle. I'm not sure if you've done an analysis on this or not, but what do you think,
A
Fizz?
little bit, a little bit. I retweeted those three videos and put my thoughts into those 260 characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Carbuncle casts probably just protect in this instance,
Okay.
but in the screenshot we got, we see Tifa in a red,
Mm-hmm.
as encompassed in a red shield,
Mm-hmm.
but she also has the same thing on. Maybe this is the effect when one gets physically attacked. I'm not really
Oh,
sure
okay.
because the other ones don't have the same red shield around them.
Oh,
But
okay.
in the presentation video, the I think all three had the same blue shield around them when he cast it. So I'm not quite sure. What's interesting is in a Japanese version, you see it pretty well that one of those hexagons of the shield is red, like Carbuncle's gem on the head and the rest is blue. So it's pretty cool.
Okay.
And I think this is just one of his buffs. Maybe he also casts Shell for having magic attacks
Right.
because summons like continually use abilities on their own
Mm-hmm.
unless you tell them, well, use this, use that. And the ending, like the finishing attack from Carbuncle is heal everyone to full. So we see them getting the full max HP
Mm-hmm.
back. And it also removes poison from Cloud, so it's like a full heal, complete full heal.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And yeah, that's it for Carbuncle. Cactuar has just straight line of needles into the enemy,
Mm-hmm.
like multiple hits. And his finishing attack is AoE, like he spurts his needles all around the place,
Yeah.
and we see then Root taking a knee from being staggered. And I think Cactuar is a great way to stagger enemies because of the continuously hitting them and then
Mm-hmm.
continuously raising the focus gauge.
Are the
I
needles
really like
getting
that.
stuck in Rude? I can't remember
Um,
if they're sticking off of him or not. I can't remember.
I didn't see that and I didn't watch. I'd have to check again, but maybe a few
That would
would
be
make
really
sense.
cool. Yeah, if
Yeah,
they
would be
showed
cool.
it, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, sure, that would be nice. And then he plucking them out of it when he gets back up.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, would be pretty intense work for every enemy or boss battle. Maybe just Root. I don't know. Anyway, uh, then Chocobo Chick had only elemental attacks against the sweeper. We saw it casting thunder and
Mm-hmm.
then the explosion as the finishing attack. Not sure if the explosion is fire based or non-elemental.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably fire based, but yeah, we'll see then when the game's out. I think it's pretty cool that we also have smaller ones. I hope that we also get maybe a few small ones in the game proper.
Mm-hmm.
Chocobo Moogle is also rather small, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I hope we get Bahamut. Please, please, at least the first Bahamut in the first game would
Oh
be
my
nice.
gosh. That would
Then
be
Neo Bahamut
amazing.
in the second, and Bahamut Zero in the third,
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. But yeah, I'm wondering if they're maybe able to summon them anywhere, but I think they work the same everywhere,
Okay.
like, or work the same as the other summons, because the summon animation and them coming out of a glowing orb above the battleground is still the same as Ifrit. So I'm pretty sure we can also only cast them or summon them in like special battles, unique battles,
Mm-hmm.
boss battles, and the like, and also in bigger areas. Although there's a screenshot with Cactar attacking a hedgehog pie from Sector 5, which is kind
Mm-hmm.
of a red frog now. Maybe the red frogs or the hedgehog pies accompany a bigger enemy, and that's why we can summon Cactar.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not quite sure yet. But in the other instance with Carbuncle, we're fighting against the Queen Grass Strike, like a bigger one.
Mm-hmm.
The Grass Strikes are the small insectoid praying mantis-like enemies.
Yeah.
And there's a big one, so this is probably also a special fight, which is why we can summon Carbuncle. But yeah, it's all still up in the air. Could be deceiving. We'll see, I guess.
Yeah, the sample videos were really short, so
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to tell how long they're going to stick around because like you can look at the summon bar, the purple summon bar that's there on the screen. It kind of shows a shot and then it's full and then the next one is like it's almost gone. So I don't know if that's because the player like chose the commands for their abilities and then it took away that amount of the summon bar or if they're even going to have commands that you can choose because I don't think it showed us the menu of them choosing what abilities to
No.
use while attacking. So maybe you can't even ask them, like give them commands. Maybe they just come in, they cast a few things and they attack a few times and then they're gone because they're kind of like minor summons and not, like you said, like the main, like larger summons like
Yeah.
Ifrit and Shiva.
It is possible, although I think if you have a summon system, you should be consistent throughout. So
Mm-hmm.
I do think we're able to give them commands using ATB points.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see that because it's extremely short.
Yeah.
So it's possible we can summon them, and the bar is full, depletes maybe within a minute or 1.5 minutes, and then they execute their finishing move.
Do you
And in the
think like
meantime, they're
every character is going to have their own length of time that they stick around, or do you think it's just going to be a default like summon bar that we see and it's the same amount of time for every single summon that?
That's an interesting thought. I'm reminded of Final Fantasy VIII with the friendship stat.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you keep continually summoning Ifrit, you get more love points for Ifrit, but
Mm-hmm.
lose points for Shiva because it's the opposite element.
Okay.
So that's kind of you're establishing a relationship with the summons over time, and the higher the relationship value, the shorter it gets to actually summon the creature. Because in Final Fantasy VIII, you summon the creature, but the creature is not there yet. And in the meantime, your HP bar gets replaced with Summon's HP bar.
Okay.
And then the timer goes down. And in the meantime, when their HP points are up, they take damage for you.
Okay.
So when the friendship is low, they take much more damage because it takes longer for them to actually be summoned.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how it works there. So maybe there's a default for everyone or a default for each character. So maybe Cloud has a better relationship to, say, Ifrit.
Mm-hmm.
And then if Ifrit is longer on the field when Cloud summons him,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Or there's some other system in place. But I'm kind of predicting there's no special
Okay.
additional system than just summoning him And there's the I think right, there's also the materia levels, and I think summons might also have levels. And
Okay.
the higher the level, the longer they stay on the battlefield. Could also be the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just thinking about that too, how the materia all have like leveling. So, like, is that going to unlock more abilities that you have access to for the summons that you can give them
Maybe as well,
commands,
yeah.
and then
Sure.
they stick around longer because like it's leveled up to a certain level? That would be really cool. Anyway.
Yeah, or it also takes less time to be able to summon because
Mm-hmm.
as we've seen, or as Kitase explained on Tokyo Game Show, the presentation of apps and Ifrit summoning,
Mm-hmm.
also said that when the summon synchronizes or a new synchronize with the summon, then the summon can be called and battle continues with the summon on the field. So maybe there are some other factors that, or like certain criteria that have to be met
Yes.
when
Yes.
you're that have to be met first before you can summon.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe you have to battle for at least a minute until you can summon Ifrit. Maybe you have to cast, I don't know, 3 ice magic spells until Shiva is ready, or I don't know, something like that. Could also be the case. And the higher the level, the less criteria you have to meet, or the less time it takes to be able to summon the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe something like that.
Well, moving on to the next thing, this kind of touches on the next thing that we got as well, which was we got some screenshots showing mercenary quests and also a little explanation how they'll work in the game. So the explanation on the PlayStation blog said that Cloud can help out the many people across Midgar, including local merchants. These tasks are varied, so he'll be able to deal with anything from taking out troublesome monsters to finding lost cats. It says in this quest, Cloud is asked to deal with some drakes, so he'll get valuable rewards for completing the task. So I like this because it shows that, yes, there's going to be quests that will be, given rewards. The rewards could be gil, it could be materia, it could be weapons. And then the higher up that you get basically on these mercenary quests, the better the rewards. So I like the addition of this. And we're going to talk about a little bit later, like we said, about a little bit about our apprehensions about the game. So I think that this could be used in a way to kind of flesh out the story and push you to explore Midgar even more and bring you to areas that you might not have been to before. And then you might, discover things while you're there, like, oh, there's more side quests here. Oh, there's a shop I haven't been to, or a weapons person, or whatever. And then you kind of are exploring, and then you're doing this as well, and then obviously you might have to come back to this guy maybe to get your rewards. I'm not sure, but I do like this. What concerns me is just it getting repetitive and being a huge amount of like fetch quests. Like, for example, it just said that finding lost cats. So like I'm into this, but also like 15 did a lot of this, and honestly I just got really bored really fast with doing all the fetch quests in 15. So
I think the main point are those just quests. Hey, there's my cat. Please get him down, and then you get him down. Oh, thank you, and then the quest is done. That would be cheap and not fun at all.
exactly.
Yeah, but when you start to get to know the person better, maybe the
Mm-hmm.
cat is into the tree because it's too afraid to come down because there's a monster roaming around or some other.
Exactly. Or maybe you're like walking down the road and then you're on your way, like you're leaving, you're going to a mission, and then he sees you and he's like, "Hey, thanks so much for, finding my cat for me. Um, I found this and I really want to give it to you." And it's like a weapon or something. Like, do you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah,
see him
of
again
course.
like
Yeah.
later,
Mm-hmm.
so it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like not just that one off. Because Red Dead 2 and the original Red Dead really did amazing with this, where you're playing and then you just come across somebody and they're on the side of the road and maybe they were drinking and they needed a ride somewhere or whatever, and you don't really get rewards until later because they see you again, because it's like they live in this world, so they recognize you. They're
Yeah,
like,
sure.
"Hey, yeah, I know you. Thank you so much for helping me. Come here. I've got something to give you or something, like just stuff like that, which just kind of makes it
Hmm.
like not just like you said, like, oh no, I lost my cat. Find my cat. Thanks,
Yeah,
bye. And then
exactly.
it's over, and then it just has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, that was the problem in Final Fantasy 15, where most of the quest givers, they were just quest givers or merchants. They didn't really have personality.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one of them, oh, I have a farm, please get rid of the wolves there, or please go get me the onions because I can't leave the stall, or
Mm-hmm.
but this wasn't really person specific. This is just random stuff that, well, okay, he's a farmer, he sells stuff, great, and what else? That was really missed opportunity there.
Did you do the quests where the guys were like broken down in their car?
Yeah, I did,
Oh
but
my god, I finished that game and I did all that, and I'm telling you that was the most annoying thing. Like, and
yeah,
and the character models are just copied and pasted. Like it's the
yeah,
same
definitely.
person and all the
Also
cars
the
look
car
exactly
models.
the same, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
how many times is this guy gonna break down? They're all supposed to be
yeah,
different people, but they all look the
yeah.
same. So I was really annoyed.
Also the injured hunters that sometimes you run around and, oh, please help me, and then you find the hunter, oh, can I
Yeah.
please have a potion? Then you give a potion, oh, thanks, and then you get maybe some experience and some gil, and
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
Oh my
Just
gosh,
random
some of
stuff
the
all around.
times I couldn't even find the people and they were shouting at
Yeah,
me like,
true.
they're like, "Where
Yeah,
are you? I need help." And I'm like, "Where
yeah,
are they?" Like I would turn and I'm looking and I don't see anything, and
yeah, same.
I was like, "Oh my god, is it a bug? Like are they there?" And then
Yeah,
I finally like ended up finding them, and then it's like, "Hey,
yeah.
here's 5 XP." And I'm already
Thanks, I
like
guess.
I'm already like,
Yeah,
I don't know, level 50, and I'm just like, thanks. Like
yeah,
the hours that it took me to find this
yeah.
person was not worth
It's
it.
just not worth it. No, not worth it.
I
It's
did it
just
for the
random stuff.
platinum. I did it for the
Yeah,
platinum
sure.
because I wanted to platinum it. So I did it just
Same,
because.
yeah.
And I bought the
Yeah,
game
same here.
guide. Like I had the game guide and I went through the game guide and it showed you where the locations were. But after they updated the game with all the patches, the game
Hmm.
guide wasn't even really up to date anymore. So like
Yeah, true,
it
yeah.
was really frustrating. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah, it wasn't really fun most of the time. The actual the Chocobo quests were pretty interesting
Mm-hmm.
because you there wasn't that much more to it, but the Chocobo Wiz or Wiz the
Mm-hmm.
Chocobo,
Yeah.
whoever, however you call
Mm-hmm.
it, he kind of exuded some sort of personality and told us about the Chocobos and how they're
Yes.
scared and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And this had a little bit of more of heart inside, even
Yeah.
if you only had to go near the behemoth's den and
Yeah.
find the chocobo that's been hurt and
Mm-hmm.
save him. And also there were the talks and the banter between the guys, which was also pretty neat.
Yeah.
And I think the only optional side quest that really had meat to it was the behemoth, the fog eye or
Mm-hmm.
dead eye, like dead eye, what it was exactly.
Yeah.
Dead eye side quest, which was even more fleshed out in the demo, in the Sky demo,
Mm-hmm.
and they cut out at least half of it,
Yeah.
because in the Sky demo you had to find the like broken down or cut down trees and
Yeah.
imprints on the ground and stuff to find, oh, who did that,
Mm-hmm.
what is there, the behemoth, and to actually track the behemoth down into the rock formation,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's only then did the real quest in the final game take place. So it's I don't know, it's a bit of a missed opportunity, and also the frog hunting. Yeah, it was fun the first time, but the other 4 times now, please don't.
All right, so it looks like we got as well a screenshot for something that's called Battle Report. So here's what it says in the PlayStation blog. It says, meet Chadley, a 15-year-old research trainee working under Professor Hojo. He's researching new types of materia and needs a little help from Cloud. You can collect Battle Report quests from Chadley in the Sector 7 slums. He'll ask you to achieve various requirements, such as making a certain number of enemies burst or use assess materia a certain amount of times, etc. So, um, yeah, what do you think about this?
I'm not quite sold on the character design yet. Kind of reminds me of Young Hope.
Mm-hmm.
Although Hope is also 15 years old, I think. I think he could maybe grow on me. I guess I just have to first hear how he talks, the language, and how he interacts with the group. But I do like the concept of battle report because this is some sort of hybrid between tutorial quests and getting access to new materia.
Yeah.
In one screenshot where we have to assess an enemy or two different enemies with the assess materia, we get an auto cure materia as a reward.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure this is maybe the secondary source of getting new materia, and maybe also some unconventional materia, probably, because it seems like Chadley needs our intel to be able to forge or produce new types of materia. So I'm pretty sure we won't get Cure or Blizzard or Thunder-like materia from him, but more specialized, like the auto cure. Maybe even the deadly dodge we see in one of the other screenshots that has been detailed in this blog post, where we have to dodge successfully and then immediately strike back, and then the bearer performs a special hard or strong attack against the enemies. It looks like it's an AoE attack, like a swing attack that Cloud performs with his sword. Could also be one of those. But yeah, I'm down with it. It's always good to have quests that teach you how to use certain mechanics of the game, and not just, oh, good, go do that, retrieve me that, and here you have a few XP. So it's actually like connecting you with the gameplay. So I'm looking forward to this. I just hope it's only the first few are this easy, like assess 2 enemies or stagger 5 enemies or whatever. I hope we get a bit more complex ones later.
Yeah, like you said, I'm totally down with this. I like this kind of system to help people learn the materia system, the battle system, and reward you for actually using the system, you know? And I like this. I'm all for it. I'm hoping that it's not just kind of bland, kind of, you know what I mean? Like the fetch quests kind of thing, where it's just like, you're just doing this just for the sake of doing it. I really want to feel like I'm rewarded for doing it, but while I'm going through this story, like I'm not just...
Yeah, sure.
Like, are these things going to happen? So like, it's like I just activate one and then I have to do this, and this works when I'm going through the story and I'm battling enemies? Or is this, here you're activating battle report quest number 1, you have to go to this place and battle these enemies and use deadly dodge 5 times? Or is this like, you know, Spider-Man, where you are playing the game, and while you're playing in Spider-Man, it's like you just get these rewards for doing things like, oh, you know, swing in the air above 2,000 meters, or do a tumble 12 times, or you do a 360 and you get XP, or you, like, that's just built into the system in Spider-Man. Like, I don't need to go to a person and be like, okay, now I have to go and do this. There's some of that too, though, where there's like a crime happening and it shows on the menu when you go there, like it's on the screen. You have to shoot somebody with spider webs 10 times and stick somebody against the wall with the web 10 times, 10 enemies, to get the most rewards, but you're not really penalized for not doing it. It's just that you don't get as much XP, or you don't get as much.
I see.
But it's like, it's built in. Like, I don't need to go to a person and like add this in. I would like this to be, you go to Chadley, you talk to him, it's activated, but you can use deadly dodge in any battle. And when you do it, you get a notification that's like, hey, you've just finished this, so now you can go back to Chadley and get your reward or a materia or whatever it is, and then activate another one. But then it's kind of annoying that you have to go back to him each time too. Like, I don't know. This kind of
Yeah,
scares me a
that's
little
my
bit.
worry. That's my worry too. That you have to speak to Chadley at that specific point or location where he is, gets the quests, and then speak to him again. But maybe he changes location depending on where you are in the story.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
at the start he is in Sector 7 as detailed in the blog post.
Mhm.
But then after the second bombing mission, he shows up in Sector 5 where you're running around with Aerith. So we can then just go to him anytime you want. And then maybe he shows up in Wall Market again, but a 15-year-old kid in Wall Market, I don't quite know. Unless they they comment on it, maybe send him away or try to send him away. Hey, it's not safe for you, but he stays anyway.
Yeah.
So I could see that coming, because I also theorized a few times or in the past that each sector, each area we are kind of acts like a hub world.
Yeah.
So we can always go back to, as long as we reside in this area, like Sector 7 and Sector 5, Sector 6. It could work out this way. And according to this the description on the screenshots, it just says, assess enemies to provide further intel. Condition, assess 2 enemy types. So it looks like you can just assess 2 different enemy types and you're done. Anywhere, any enemy, no worries. So I think it's kind of like we're hoping it will be.
It would be really cool if it was a menu and then you just didn't have to go back to him to activate it. But I do like what you said about him being in different areas. Maybe when you go to talk to him in a new area, he's like, hey, how's it going with those, battle reports that I gave you, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, yeah, Professor Hojo sent me out. I'm doing some field research. I'm looking at, whatever. And then that explains why he's there. And maybe he's walking around in the environment, like touching things. He's not just standing in a corner doing nothing.
Yeah, I hope so.
Like waiting for you to come up and just talk to him with an exclamation point above his head.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so too. That all, not just quest givers, but all NPCs don't just stay still in the same location anytime, but roam around a little bit in at least a smaller circle, so that they don't look like NPCs just waiting for you to talk to them.
Like 15 did this a lot, and it was like you went to the quest giver, but you had to go back to the quest giver that gave you the quest. And like, I mean, in that game, like you got to drive, and I liked the car, but when the world was so big, like it took you a long time to get back to some of the NPCs. And they're just standing there waiting for you. Like, oh yeah, no, I know.
There was fast travel,
yes, but you had to
loading
wait
times
for
were
it to load.
atrocious.
Yeah, exactly. So then it was just, anyway, I really hope it doesn't turn into that. I'm kind of scared.
Same.
We're going to talk about a little bit more about this in the second segment. So about our apprehensions about this stuff. So moving on to our next thing. So what we got were screenshots showing Tifa and her combat style and abilities as well. So Vyzz, it looks like you have really went through these screenshots and gave a really good analysis here. So why don't you get into Tifa and the combat there?
Well, it's kind of a preliminary analysis, just me looking through the screenshots time and time again, because I'm also working on other videos already. It takes so much time, it's unbelievable. Anyway, we also already got a good view on Tifa's abilities and how she works in combat in the Tokyo Game Show presentation, where she was battling, or the group was battling apps. Yeah, well, one of Tifa's abilities is called Axe Kick. That's why I got it jumbled up in my head. Yeah, so, but here they just showcase the most important bits. Her trial attack is, I think you can say, special attack, and she can boost up the special attack. So in the basic form, it's just an uppercut that launches the enemy in the air, where you can probably just keep pummeling the enemy before they hit the ground and can counterattack. So kind of air juggling might be a thing here. And then there's this one ability you can charge up this triangle attack, and the The second is called Omni Strike, with the first called Whirling Uppercut. And Omni Strike is, I think it's just a kind of a shoulder tackle, a hard shoulder tackle that pushes the enemy backwards. And then the third stage, when you have increased it a second time, then Tifa attacks with some roundhouse kicks a few times. I think there's three hits. And then finishing off with a palm strike right into the chest. So, and as I see it, each time you perform such a triangle attack, it goes down a level. And while on level 2 or level 3 we have a timer, like the background behind the button label has this timer bar that slowly goes down. If it's down, then it degrades automatically. So it's kind of a layered special attack system that Tifa has. And the rest is just combo after combo after combo. So her normal attack, it's like a Cloud has this 5-stage combo. Tifa has, I think, 7. A few punches and a kick at the end. And her abilities, she can just interject them at any time to either use the X kick from above, use a kick straight through, or also the True Strike ability they are showcasing here. Do they say anything about that? No, it's just a swift attack, True Strike move. And then an intensely powerful dive kick is called X kick from above. We've also already seen that in the E3 trailer and in the apps showcasing. So it's not too much new stuff, but it's still interesting to see how she works. But you can only glean the full extent of her abilities when you, of course, play the game. This is just scratching the surface, I guess. What's interesting, though, is in one of the screenshots we see more of the sewers. I think some walkways above here. And another sneak peek at the game, the enemy blue goo, like this, the puff fish.
Yeah.
Puffer fish, however it's called, with the spikes on its belly that can inflate itself. I think that's it for Tifa. Just a short interjection. We got also one screenshot of Aerith casting regen on herself. We also see a little bit more of the train graveyard here. With new enemies, new enemy type, kind of a rat, sort of a rat on 2 legs with the head of a bat, I guess. It's a weird thing. But it's definitely something new. But what I'm asking myself is, they describe this screenshot with healing material lets you use spells like Cure and Cura. So Cure, Cura, Curaga is confirmed in the screenshot above. In the screenshot above, we can see Aerith using Regen, a spell that will gradually heal its target for a while, as we Final Fantasy enthusiasts already know. But in the original game, I think the restore materia could learn Cure 1, 2, 3, and Regen.
Right.
And I wonder if it's still the same, or if Regen is contained in its own materia with maybe a stronger version of Regen or something. Or maybe paired with poison, but I don't think so. We'll see, I guess. Maybe it's just the same. Cure, Cura, Curaga, and Regen.
So you're thinking that, so it's like healing materia is just like one materia. It's called healing materia. So it has Cure, and then those upgrade to Cura and Curaga. And then it also has Regen inside of the healing materia. Is that what you're thinking?
Probably, yeah, because the original restore materia had that as well.
Okay.
Also, something interesting. We've got a glimpse of Nailbat being in the game already in one of the screenshots where they showcased the weapons upgrade.
Yeah.
But here we actually get to see how it looks, and it looks just like the original, with more nails and higher fidelity, of course. But it's cool to see it in action. And another sneak peek at another enemy called Caesar. Caesar, it's the crab enemy in the sewers, the red one.
Yeah.
You can't see it that well because of the sparks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, of course, no materia slots, as it should be. Yeah, but I think that's it for the battle screenshots. Nothing particularly of interest. Oh, there's one more battle screenshots where they showcase Cloud and Tifa going after the Drake mentioned in the quest description.
Yeah.
It seems like they have to go into a shed or something like that to get rid of the nuisances, and this enemy looks kind of a recolor of Dean Glow, the one this small Drake-like enemy in the train graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
Some thought it's this Thunderbird.
Okay.
I forget the name, but it's definitely not a bird. It's a reptile enemy. But I also wanted to mention this here in the screenshots revolving around quests. We see only Cloud and Tifa being together and battling things. So Barrett is not around, which is also new, because in the original there were first no quests or no battles in Sector 7 itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was either just us, Cloud, running around on our own, or just being in 7th Heaven. So it seems like they expanded quite a lot, with Cloud and Tifa roaming around, doing quest stuff.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, same here. And a lot of this too with the Tifa combat we did talk about on previous episode as well. I think it was our TGS episode that we talked about the trailer there, because we could see that her fists glow different color because each time that she's upgrading or she's charging up basically. And then so it was just good to kind of get more clarification about her abilities there, and also just to see that regen is back in the game, and Cura and Curaga and everything else seems pretty awesome. So I'm super excited about that.
There's one thing that I'm hoping, and that's kind of have the option to display quest markers or other markers, or even the map. I think map display on/off is confirmed when we got a glimpse of the menu. But I also kind of would like to be able to disable the quest markers on the map, because here on the screenshot we see Chadley's marker, which is bigger because it's on screen, and there are also 3 other quest markers outside of the visible map and roaming around the edge of the map on the top right. So it's kind of, it's like a modern take, or should I say the modern implementation of the questing system, because the original didn't really have a quest system. It just had quests.
You kind of had to just kind of find them.
Yeah.
Just by talking to people. Yeah. And there was no quest markers. There were no, it was just.
Or quest log, yeah.
Exactly. Like you just walked around and talked to everybody, and every NPC, because you didn't know if they were going to give you a potion. Maybe they were going to give you a materia. Like you didn't know. Like you're just, that's why it was like a big thing. Final Fantasy, it was always like talk to every NPC. And keep talking to them, though, because sometimes too, after the initial conversation, you go back and you talk to them again a few times, then the conversation changes and then they give you something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, especially the one in Rocket Town, the old man, which gives you the Yoshiyuki. After talking to him, I think 3 times or something, and also listening to him. Yeah, listening to him, and then he tells you something about Rocket, and it pans up, shows it's Rocket, pans down again.
Yeah.
I hope they retain some of those without quest markers, because it's not really quest, it's just a reward for listening to a guy.
And then it says on here that there were 2 location shots, and you said that it looks like there's a potion vending machine in the tunnels or something.
Right, yeah. There's the shot from the Mako reactor core, which we've already seen in trailers and the demo and stuff. It's not really much more of interest here, but the tunnel looks gorgeous for one, and for the other there's this short side segment which you reach with maybe it's just a station. It might be a station or something. I don't know. Although no, it doesn't really look like a station, because it all has those what are those? Got like control cabinets
Oh,
on the
okay.
side.
Yeah.
It's maybe it's just for the service personnel
Could be.
to take care of stuff and making sure that everything works. But there's also this potion vending machine, or at least it looks like a potion vending machine.
That would be really cool if there are potion
Yeah,
vending machines or vending
yeah,
machines that give you anything. Like you can just buy it from there. That would be pretty cool.
yeah. Just items like curative items or items that inflict status effects on enemies. Just little items that
Hmm.
could be there in such a potion dispenser.
Yeah, like in
Would be
Persona
neat.
5, there was just vending machines that you could go to and you could choose, but theirs were more like soft drinks and like names of snacks and
Ah, I
stuff
see.
because it took
Okay.
place in high school, but
Yeah.
they were students and there was like vending machines outside of the school and in the market area and all this stuff. So that's pretty cool, but it obviously it's not
Hmm.
going to be the same as that, but it would be pretty cool
Sure.
because I did use those a lot when I was playing a game because some of the vending machines had different items in it
Hmm.
at different times too. Like sometimes you couldn't get certain things on Mondays or something like that because they had a calendar, right? So, and then
Yeah. Right. That's
there,
true. Yeah.
yeah, like I did like that about that game. So that would be pretty cool if they had that in the remake. So,
Yeah. Sure. Also, the quests log in the menu. There was also a screenshot about the quest log, how it looks, and this kind of puts me at ease. Um, because here we see quests of Chapter 3, Home Sweet Slum, which is probably just the Sector 7 part. I guess
mhm,
as Chapter 1 is the bombing mission, and Chapter 2 starts after the explosion, where we meet Aerith and travel down again.
mhm,
Then Chapter 3 is here. And we have 6 slots, 4 of which are filled in, which also coincides with the other screenshot, which has 4 quest markers, 1 of Chadley and 3 outside of the visible area.
right,
1 is Rat Problem, 1 the Nuisance in the Factory, and 1 Lost Friends
nice,
with a girl. So that's it looks like those quests are first finite per area,
mhm,
and some of them probably have to unlock. Maybe there are follow-up quests, or maybe we have to hit a certain story plot point first. But it looks like each quest has more to it than just go kill this and I give you EXP.
right,
Because otherwise they won't be making such a big deal out of it in the menu design. And there's also a progression indicator for each quest. For example, Nuisance in the Factory has 5 steps, Lost Friends as well, and we see which steps we've already completed. So while I think it's little bit of hand holding, I think it's also more important because when you don't power through the game, you might forget about quests and don't remember,
exactly,
oh, where was this? Where was I? What did I do already? And then you have to just run around aimlessly to
yeah,
recollect everything. And yeah, I think it has positives and negatives. But
mhm,
in the end, I think it's a positive.
yeah, I think so too. Um, and I was also thinking about when I played through Final Fantasy 13 3 Lightning Returns. It was kind of like there was a time mechanic. So certain
Yes.
quests weren't available at certain times and on
Mm.
certain days, I think. I can't remember if it was days or not, but you had to
I think
go.
just time, yeah.
Yeah, so like but I like that because then you had to make sure that, okay, I got to come back here tomorrow at this time or whatever.
Mm.
And then it's just kind of like feels more alive, I guess, that people aren't there because maybe they're gone doing something else or
That's
whatever.
true,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? So, all right, guys. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we will be chatting about our apprehensions and concerns that we have about the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And also, we'll be talking about Sony and how they canceled their PAX East presence this year. All that and more after this. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Reunion of Final Fantasy VII Remake podcast. I'm Kairosis, and I'm here with my co-host Vyzz. We are talking about our apprehensions for the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Basically, we're thinking about what would make us feel negative feelings about the game, and what would cause us to kind of not really feel into the game. And also, we're talking about what makes Final Fantasy VII actually Final Fantasy VII, and what does the new content need to accomplish for us to feel that it fits into the Final Fantasy VII Remake. So we were asked this by a member of our Discord community, Pime. So because everything that we've been talking about so far has been really positive, and that's basically because we did bring some controversial things to the table. We did discuss those things, but for that, I kind of made a choice that I didn't really want to bring a lot of negativity or a lot of attention to those things, because I didn't really want to give them power and kind of destroy, the positive feeling that we've been having about the game, since, I've been really happy with everything we've seen so far. But obviously, there are things that I feel that I'm kind of concerned about. So for me, the number one thing is that we talked about earlier was just a lot of kind of soulless fetch quests that have little to do with the story, and they don't develop in any way. And that Square Enix felt that that's what they needed to do to make Midgar feel more alive. Also, I'm thinking about unnecessary characters that are introduced and they're not given enough time or enough story development. So they just feel like a waste of time to kind of distract us. Like, when I think about it, I'm thinking about there are so many ways that they can go about adding new characters in and really flesh them out and give them backgrounds to make them feel like they belong in this environment and belong in this story, instead of just kind of like throwaway characters to kind of distract us and fill up the time to make the game, 40 or 50 hours long, let's say, because that's what they need to do to make the game as long as possible, basically.
That's one of my concerns with Chadley, which could be a great character, and maybe we get a bit more information each time we perform a quest for him, or finish a quest and he finishes the material for us, and actually has maybe a little character arc, and maybe distances himself from Hojo towards the end of the game or something like that.
Exactly.
But it could also turn out the exact other way, that he's just there to give us those tutorial quests and rewards us with materia, and it's just that a materia dispenser and a little bit of tutorial for us to learn the mechanics. I hope there's more to it.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope there's more
Same.
to it, because otherwise it doesn't really make much sense to introduce a new character. It could just be random NPC number 455 or something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my concern as well. And I think that there's a happy medium between the two. I think that you can achieve that kind of balance between it being an NPC and you have to go see them to get quests and that sort of thing, but then also actually giving them story and giving them background, showing what like their life is like, not really going in their history or anything, but just showing maybe him, working with Professor Hojo in the lab, and then maybe they're having a conversation or something, just so that it feels like they belong and not just they're just there. You turn a corner, you see this person with an exclamation point above their head, you go talk to them, they're just there, and then you leave, and you do it because you basically want the materia. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we even see Chadley in the Shinra HQ when we're raiding that thing.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
It'd be nice to see him there too. Maybe in a quarrel or in a discussion with, or maybe even argument with Professor Hojo or something. Kind of those little things.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I'm thinking about the previous Final Fantasies and also The Witcher 3. So The Witcher 3 is a really great game. I had my issues with that game, but ultimately it is a really, really well made game, and the story is really great and everything. But some of the side quests, they're really long. Like, some of the cutscenes for the side quests in that game are like 30 minutes. And you're just sitting there listening to them talk. And that's fine if you have time to do that. But like, I
Sure,
don't
yeah.
have time to listen to that, so I have other things I have to do, but I'm trying to basically wait for the person to finish talking so then I can actually pause, save the game, and then exit the game. So I think
Yeah,
that
exactly.
that's kind of going way, like, it's almost too much,
Mm,
and I know there's a lot of MMOs that are like that as well, but I mean, this is just my opinion, okay? So that's not what I want. I don't want that. But I also don't just want throwaway quests, you know, NPCs that
yeah,
have no
same.
meaning and they're just there in the world, like 15, like we talked about earlier. The guy, his car broke
Mm,
down. It's supposed to be a new person, but you can just tell that they copied the character model, they changed the shirt color, gave him a scarf. It's the same dude or the same
yeah.
girl. It's the same person, and it was just so daunting, and so it just had nothing to do with anything, and I just felt like so demotivated doing all those things.
Mm,
By
yeah,
the end of
exactly.
playing that game, like I was being punished. Like it should never feel that way. But also, The
Mm,
Witcher 3, it's kind of punishing you in the other way that I loved the story and the lore they were giving, but it was so long. It was so long. Like there has to be happy medium between the two. Like eventually
yeah.
in The Witcher 3, I just ended up I did the side quest, but I didn't do any of those fetch quest things. Like I had to stop. I was just like, I can't do it. Like it was just so much, and there were so many other games out that I had to move on
Yeah.
from playing that game. And every game wants your attention. They want you to play it over and over and over
Yep.
again. That's how they
Yep.
get you. But
Mm-hmm.
there's so many
That's
other
true.
games and there's not enough time. And I'm, an adult with a career. If you're a child,
Yep.
it's different because you're a child. It's like you have this time to be able to play the games on the weekends and after school and stuff outside of just doing your homework, which is awesome. But it's just everybody has a different reality, I guess. So I'm just saying if that's what you want, that's okay. It's just my opinion about this.
Yeah. Also, sometimes less is more. Sometimes it's more interesting to only get the glimpse of something and then your brain fills in the blanks. That there's just so much information that you know what's going on, but can like make out the rest
Yeah, exactly.
yourself. That's what the original did with so many aspects.
hmm Another one of my concerns is how open will the game be? I think that it's going to be a combination of Final Fantasy 13 and 15, that there's going to be large open areas that we're going to be able to go to. Like you said earlier, we've talked about this multiple times about there being world hubs, and the hub
Hmm.
is large and open, and there is corridors where you're going through different parts of like Shinra Tower because you have to go there for the quests that you're
Hmm.
doing and that sort of thing. I think there's a happy medium between the two. I am concerned because we haven't really seen any real exploration. We haven't seen the world and them just kind of exploring the world and doing anything. We've seen a lot of battling. We've seen beautiful cutscenes. We've seen these menus for the side quests, but we haven't seen, well, what is it going to look like for them to actually get from point A to point B so they can do that quest? Like, we haven't seen any of that, and that kind of scares me a little bit. I think that
Hmm.
it's going to be fine. I have faith that it's going to be what they're promising, but I just hope that they learned from the previous games that, 13 was just a corridor for 30
Yeah.
hours. 30 hours. You're literally
Yep.
just walking in these dull environments, and the story is so convoluted. You have no idea what you're trying to do. Like you're just being funneled down these corridors to learn how the battle system works, right? Which is great.
Hmm.
I like that about 13. But
It's too
this,
long.
it's too long. Exactly. And I feel like 15 was the complete opposite, where it's just like, okay, boom, you're in this world, go free. Figure
Yeah.
figure it out on your own. Like figure it out. And there was not really any story. I mean, there was, but it was just so messed up with versus 13 being, delayed and then taken,
Mm.
that was canceled, and this was just that. But anyway, I mean, I could go
Yeah.
on and
Shell
on
of
and
it.
on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, but it was just kind
Yeah.
of like that was too much. Like, and then they gave you the openness at the beginning, and then the
Hmm.
ending was a corridor. The
Yeah.
ending was a corridor after having all that freedom, and then the
Hmm.
end, they did the opposite of what 13 did. 13, it was a corridor for 30 hours, and then it opened up and you had this
Yeah.
huge area you could explore and blah blah blah. I liked 13. I liked the combat in 13. I didn't like being funneled in a hallway, and the story was crazy. Like I still have to read things online to figure out what actually
Yeah.
happened, but I did like the gameplay. I love the battle system, the characters. It's that JRPG kind of generic character where they're crying and there's drama and you're like, why are they crying? Like you're just trying to figure out like what's happening. That's fine. I didn't mind that. I liked it, but I just hope that this is both, like it's a happy medium between the two, because I think that those things really hurt those games.
Well, to be fair with Final Fantasy 13 and 15, the openness and corridor aspects being inverted makes sense from from a story perspective. Like what happened sometime in the beginning, there wasn't like a laser focused goal, but then afterwards, after Altissia, it became something of a focus. At least,
Yeah.
how it ended up to be. So it kind of makes sense, but it's still from a gameplay perspective, it's
like they showed
it's
us
kind of weird.
environments of Altissia, and they showed us environments of I
Yeah,
don't know the names. I forget. I haven't played that game.
Niflheim.
Yeah, they showed that. And then the one, where's Luna Freya from? I forget. But they showed that.
Tenebrae.
Yeah, in the movie. But I thought that we were going to go to her
Mhm.
city and explore it and like do
Nothing.
quests there. But you don't even, it's
Nothing.
literally just in the background over a cliff. And it's
Yeah,
on
nothing
fire.
more.
You don't get to go
Yeah.
there. You don't get to explore it. You're just like, look how cool that is. I guess I'm going to go there next. And you don't go
Yeah.
there. You don't
Nope.
go there.
Yeah, it's a shame. And in 13 it was just too much corridor. In Final Fantasy X it was at least well covered up corridor.
Mm-hmm.
And you had many story points that pushed the story and the plot.
Yeah.
You had interesting conversations. You had interesting environments. You could go back and forth as both directions. In 13 was just go straight and battle enemies, and that's that. You couldn't really go back. Well, you could maybe go back in the area you were in, but it didn't really make any sense when you already looted every chest that was there, and there aren't really side paths anyway. So it's those are really the two extremes. And Final Fantasy VII Remake should be, in my opinion, in the middle. It should have laser focused, funneled, corridor-like
Exactly.
parts, like on a bombing mission.
Uh-huh.
It's especially in the beginning, because this doesn't really make much sense to deviate from the main path. But then when you have time to breathe, you need an open area to look around, talk with people, make quests, whatever you like. And then when the next mission starts or next main plot point happens, throw me into a corridor again. I don't really care, as long as it fits the pacing.
Mm-hmm.
So good balance is the key here.
Mm-hmm. And I keep referencing Spider-Man a lot because I just played it, but it's similar to that, where it's like it's open. You can fly anywhere. Can you go into any building? No. The buildings look amazing. You can't go into every single building. When you use a quest or you activate a quest, it shows you the marker. Then you have to go there. Then you go there. Maybe you go inside a building. Maybe you have to go in the ceiling and go through the vents. Maybe you have to go down a hallway. Maybe you have to, crouch and you're doing stealth, or like that was exciting. I liked that. I loved that. I didn't care that I couldn't go into any building that I wanted, like in GTA 5 or other games where it's kind of like it's so open that it's just so daunting. You know what I mean? Like that was kind of like a happy medium, and I liked that about that game. But the fetch quests in that game were really annoying. And I'm still not done playing it because of that simple fact that I just got burned out because of all the fetch quests and everything that I had to do. And that's why I'm like looking at this and I'm kind of getting scared. But I think that it's going to be fine. It's just like you said, finding that balance between everything, which is so difficult to be able to do.
It is.
And I do not envy Square Enix at all, having to find that balance and please everybody and do this, but also make it reinvigorate the story and just like kind of update it and do all that. Like that's a lot of work, but also a lot of stress to have on your shoulders to be able to do that, and people are just going to rip it apart because it's not going to be what they perceived in their mind that it was going to be. So that's also, you know, let's hope that doesn't happen, but it's not going to be what everybody wants it to be. So,
Oh, definitely not. No, no. It also shouldn't please everybody. It should please the majority, or it should at least please the developers. Because if you can't stand behind the product, it's no good. If all of the whole team working on Final Fantasy VII Remake can stand behind it and be proud of their work, and at least that is a positive. The second positive is, does the game hold up? Do all of the pieces fit together, and do they create a whole experience that feels coherent and feels that the story serves the gameplay and vice versa, and everything fits, and also doesn't destroy the nostalgia, but also kind of reinvigorates it and brings a bit more to the table that makes it feel fresh again for veterans, but still retains the soul of the game and honors the memories.
Yeah,
it's really a fine line to walk.
I think that everything we've seen so far, yeah, like
Yeah.
I think it's fine, and which is like I'm impressed by everything, and I think that they're doing a really great job. And that's one of the things that, you know, why we're being so positive about it, because everything we've seen so far, like I haven't really had any indicator that it's going to be like those things that we just talked about, but I'm still apprehensive because I know that it's Square Enix, and I know based on the other games that they've made, in the Final Fantasy series and other games, like in general, like sometimes they lack focus and they're not, you know, the greatest experiences. And but I'm positive. Like I'm trying to stay positive. I don't want to focus on that, because then
same.
it will take away from the experience that I have when I actually play through the game. And I want to play through the game in the, I guess, the purest way, basically. I don't know how else to explain it. So so another thing that I'm kind of worried about is changing the story of the game so much that it's like extremely different from the original. And I know that they're going to be extending the characters and fleshing it out more, and they're going to have to change certain story elements to make it work, because they've split it up into different parts. And you kind of talked about this before, last episode, how, you know, Genova is, you think that they've added a Genova boss battle, which didn't happen in the original, but it makes sense in the grand scheme of things, how they're trying to, it's still the same story, but it's not changing it to the point where it's not the same game anymore. So that's one of my concerns as well, and taking out the awkwardness or the campiness of the original, which it doesn't look like they're doing. It looks like, from what we've seen with the cross-dressing scene, it's very campy.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's very quirky based on how they talk to each other, and the dialogue that you can hear while the characters are talking to each other. I'm loving it. I think that it's going to be fine, but I'm still thinking about these things.
Well, it could also be that they only showed the good parts that seem like the original, but there could also be several other segments in the game that kind of destroy this nice balance they have going. Maybe.
That's true.
Could be. I don't think it will be, but you never know. So always be a little bit apprehensive and prepare for worse, maybe not the worst, but for worse outcomes, and then still be surprised, or positively surprised, when everything is the way you hoped it would be. So the term I stopped liking is cautiously optimistic. It makes sense, but it's being used so much that I'm getting sick of it. But it's still it's the best way to describe the feeling that one should have, or how one should be prepared for the game. Stay optimistic, but don't go overboard, and kind of prepare for things that could disappoint you. Just kind of be in the middle. Don't downplay everything. Don't hate on the game, but don't fall for the extreme hype and then when Carbuncle has a big head, you're canceling pre-order. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, just don't go to the extreme. That's my mantra.
Yeah, exactly. I also wrote the new songs, like it concerns me that the new songs that they're putting in the game are not going to be as impactful as the original music.
Oh, you mean new compositions along the arranged ones?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that there might be new compositions in the game. Like,
Probably,
obviously,
yeah.
we don't know, but I'm just kind of scared that the new ones aren't going to be as good as the arrangement of
Mm,
the original
yeah.
music.
Which sound great so far. The rearranged ones sound so good.
Yeah, they do.
The
They
ones I've
do.
heard, yeah.
I'm impressed so far with the music. I think it's really really good. But I'm just thinking about, themes for, if they have new characters and they write
Yeah,
themes for those
Rush's theme, for
exactly or
example. Yeah.
something, like it's not going to be as impactful as the original
Mm,
music. Also, so thinking about just purchasable DLC that gets released later, like we don't know if this is going to happen or not. Maybe they're going to do this to keep this game alive, to keep people coming back to the game so that there isn't as much downtime between the parts. Like I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but for me, like 15 and 13, so 13 too, I think had like a battle arena and then you could like buy boss battles
hmm
and to get like rare drops and stuff. I didn't buy any of those. I was just like, no, I'm done with this game. Like I didn't like that. I didn't want to have to pay for boss battles, okay? Like why aren't they just in the
Yeah.
game? Like that was my takeaway. But the thing is that I did like was that some of the enemies were enemies that weren't in 13 or 13 2, but they belonged to other Final Fantasy games. So it
hmm
gave you a chance to see them in HD and you could fight them. And they had some of the same attacks that they had traditionally. And it
Like
was just
Gilgamesh.
exactly. So that was really cool. But I just didn't care and I was done with the game. So I didn't buy any of those because I didn't feel like
Mm,
that justified me spending money on that. And also for 15, like these collaboration events that they did, that's great. If you're super into the game, it's just giving you more an excuse to go back to the game, which that's
mhm.
fine. Like I bought the Ultimate Collector's Edition, like I wanted it all. I wanted everything. But then there were so many collaborations and so many limited like items and things that were released that I missed because there were so many that it was so overwhelming for me that I just
Mm.
literally didn't care anymore. Like when I started
Yeah, I
out,
hear you.
I wanted every weapon. I wanted all the items I could get, which is why I bought the Ultimate Collector's Edition because I thought I had
hmm
everything. But then they released story DLC
Yeah.
and they made
hmm
us pay for it. Like these
hmm
are probably things that were cut from the original game that they couldn't finish in time for when the game came out, which is fine. I understand that. And I ended
In
up
part,
buying
yeah.
them. I ended up buying the
Yeah, me
DLC
too.
and I played it and that's fine cuz I wanted the whole story, but just like these weird they really went crazy with like the collaborations like with other companies and things like the cup noodle and
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
the Afro Jack. There was like a weapon that was shaped like a
Yeah.
ghetto blaster that played Afrojack
Or
music that you could use
keyboard
to
something, yeah.
yeah, and it was just so many things and I was just like I just was so done. I moved on. I was like there's so many things. There's no way that I'm going to be able to have it all and I didn't care because the game wasn't that good that I would literally spend more money on it or go back to it and do the things that I needed to do to get those items. Like I just
Yeah.
didn't care anymore. Like that was really annoying to me.
Yeah, same happened to me with the Royal Edition. I was through the game and had Platinum. I've played the Chocobo Moogle event
Mhm.
thingy. I played the Assassin's Creed crossover
Mhm.
event, which was pretty cool and had cool music.
Yeah.
And I played all the episodes, including Arden's episode.
Mhm.
But then the Royal Edition,
I know.
I'd have to had to either load a save and play through certain parts again, and the
Yeah.
end game, especially last dungeon. Then no, I just watched someone play it online. That was
That's what
done
I
with it.
did. Yeah, cuz I was
Yeah.
like I wonder what happens. Like I wanted to see how it was changed, but I didn't want to
hmm
put the time and effort into replaying the game. Even if you
Exactly.
download a save file, like you said, like you still have
Mm.
to go to that place. And I was just like,
Mm.
no, I just watched it basically the same.
Yeah, and there was also Comrades edition, Comrades add-on.
Hmm.
This
I did not get into
online
that.
thing.
I did not get
I
into
played it a
that.
little, a few hours, but then loading times were atrocious, quests were repetitive, and it was just getting boring and nothing really. It didn't really add much to the story, and then forget it, and I was done with it. Character creation was cool though.
I liked that too. I made a character and I think I logged in once and did like one quest, and then it was like
Okay.
the gameplay wasn't as good as the regular game, like the base
No.
game. Like it was just. And then also I DC'd so many times, and I'm connected with Ethernet. Okay, like I'm not connected on Wi-Fi
boy.
with
Yeah.
my PS4 because I never played it on PC. I played it on PS4 because I was like, I'm not spending another $100 on the Windows edition for my computer. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
I was so done, and I was already playing other games by then. So
Hmm.
I don't know if I'll ever go back to that game, but I'm just scared that that's what's going to happen. Some of that is going to trickle down into
Yeah.
the remake, and I really hope that it doesn't. I like some of the stuff, but it's like enough is enough. Like, when do you have to put your
Yeah.
foot down and be like, okay, we've done this collaboration, because you're just alienating your audience, because your audience logs in maybe like, 3 months later and they're like, oh, I missed all of this stuff. And then you
Mhm.
just feel bad. Other people have it. You don't. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah, I hope they don't go overboard with DLC. Some new costumes or such things, maybe special material, but then again, it changes gameplay, which is also bad. Also, a weapon DLC,
Mhm.
summon DLC. Could be fun, but when you've played through it twice or 3 times already, and then new stuff comes out, nah,
Yeah.
I won't play it again now. Maybe they're playing with the hopes that people might play the game again before
Uh-huh.
the second or then third part comes out, and
Mhm.
then they'll have enough DLC to play through it again with the new content or something. I don't know. Kitase already mentioned that they're thinking about about strategies, how to cover the gap between the games.
Mhm.
But I'm not sure. I just hope they don't create useless or not really needed content that's just there for buy it,
Mhm.
play through the game again, and use this new weapon or use this new summon or
Yeah.
whatever.
Mhm.
Story DLC, I'd rather not,
Mhm.
unless it's a completely separate little DLC that doesn't really take place in the game proper.
Exactly.
Like, it's now you can see what this character did while the other characters were doing that. For example, what Barrett and Tifa were doing while Cloud was around with walking around with Aerith.
Mhm.
I want to be this in the game. But for example, if there's like an episode, a Turks episode, where we can play with the Turks and maybe get some of their backstory, that would be cool, because that doesn't really have much place in the game anyway. So something that they wouldn't have included in the game in the first place and doesn't really match, and maybe even has a little bit of a different gameplay mechanic, that could work. But that's the only one, and that needs time and resources, and I'd rather have them use those time and resources for part 2 and the consecutive parts. So the less DLC, the better.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Just like with 15, we've already talked about this, but just where it's kind of like one of the characters leaves the party and then comes back with like a scar.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, you don't know what happened, but they put that in there so that you would have to play the DLC to find out what happened to his face, or find out what happened to what's his name's glasses or whatever, like how he Ignis, sorry, I forget, I know their names, I played it for so many hours, I haven't played it in a long time.
No worries.
But Ignis, like that sort of thing, like that should have just been in the game. Like when Barrett and Tifa split off from the group, like I really hope they don't lock that behind DLC where they're like, oh,
yep, definitely,
the lost missions.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy
No,
VII
please not.
remake or something like that. Like I would just be so upset. Like I would,
Yep.
uh, like like you said, if it's Turks, like it's more backstory on the Turks. It's different. It's not the same story. It's just to add
Mhm.
to create more like lore in the world.
Expand the lore, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Like that's cool. I like that. Or if they meet, let's say that it's a new character. Like it's a new
Hmm.
character that's like part
Yeah, that
of
shows a different part of the story. Yeah.
like what that person was doing at that time. Maybe like if it's like an I don't know, like an avalanche character that we don't know, that we haven't met, that's there or something. And some of this also was in like the compilation games, so
Hmm.
they can pull some of that from the compilation games too, and kind of put characters from that
Sure.
in
Yeah.
this, and then flesh them out. But if they wanted to do DLC missions for like Avalanche, and it's the character that we meet in the game that we know of, but it's like you get more of the backstory there and what they went through to get to the point that they were at when we played through the remake, when we meet them at that time. Like that's
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah. If it's not pertinent to the story. So
Yes, but
if
don't
it's just
hide
just a
things
bonus. Yeah.
exactly, like
Yeah.
hide the story away in
Yeah.
DLC. Like I just anyways, so
Yeah.
that I've talked a lot about my apprehensions about the game, things not feeling Final Fantasy VII, just like mobile apps and like bringing that technology, like I don't know, like I didn't like the minigame app that Final Fantasy 15 had. Like it was like a phone
Mm.
app and then that had to do with the game. Like I don't care about any of that. I just don't think that that caters to the story, and I just don't care about and that would not
Yeah.
feel Final Fantasy VII to me. Like you said, the world is it's steampunk and it looks really awesome, but it's a mixture of modern technology. But the cars look old. But that's because when you're thinking about when electricity was invented, if it wasn't invented in the way that we know the electricity is now, like, and it was
Hmm.
actually steam or Mako that was pumped through these huge tubes, like obviously
Hmm.
the reality would have diverted and it would have been a different reality.
Of
So
course.
maybe
Yeah.
the cars didn't progress like our modern technology, how we have cars now. And also, seven
Hmm.
isn't, it's not 15. 15 was like trying to be a fantasy in a reality. That's what that whole
Yeah.
thing was. They said that so many times. Like, it's
Yep.
Final Fantasy, it's a fantasy in a
Based in
reality.
reality. Yeah.
Yeah, like as in like, oh, they're dudes, they all have phones. They all use
Hmm.
Instagram. They all like, do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that doesn't have any place in Final Fantasy VII. It's not the same universe, like the same world.
Yeah, that's what bothered me in Kingdom Hearts 3 a little with the hashtags and the in universe
Yes.
kind of Instagram that posted an image with a description and some hard hashtags. Was funny the first time, but then please, this is just bringing real life into a fantasy game,
Yeah.
Disney game or whatever. This kind of felt off a little.
Yeah. So what does it need? What do I think that the game needs to have to feel like Final Fantasy VII? The story, stay focused, tell the same story, and create that atmosphere, you know, the darkness, the evilness there, but also the happiness and the quirkiness, like we said, and the awkwardness and the campiness. There's a happy medium between the two. And I think the original did a really great job in striking that balance because the story was really dark. And those moments really kind of balance that out when you're dealing with all of these kind of dark and mature subject
Hmm.
areas and things that are happening in the story, um, and how the environment looks. Basically, how did they design it? Well, what we've seen, I'm happy with. It looks industrial, it looks classic, but it looks lived in. It looks dirty in some areas. Some of the, like you said, like it looks like there's some poor areas there. Like the dog looks like it's starving. I love that. I think that's great. I think they did a really great job mixing the classic, what we know of Final Fantasy VII, and really updating it into kind of what we pictured in our minds when we played the game so many years ago. So, and that's everything that I wanted to say. And I know that I've talked a lot about also things that you've also wrote down here. So, what do you think?
So yeah, we've touched on so many points already, but I think there are a bit more I could expand upon. Let's just go into the questing system again. Just as long as each side quest, each quest that isn't mandatory, either expands the lore, uses side stories for characters that are interesting and flesh out the environments, locations, or that go deeper into the main characters themselves, maybe through banter, through maybe information that we wouldn't get otherwise. Just fill out a little bit of the cracks that are left open in the main story. Expand on NPCs too, that we get their backstory, that fleshes out the world. We learn a little bit more about the sectors, the individual sectors, which are pretty much different, how they think, the mentality probably.
Mm-hmm.
And as we touched on before, teaching the player new mechanics and strategies to have it easier in battle. That's also something that side quests need to do, at least some of them. Or have them visit new areas that you never go there when you're just breezing through the main story. So just see new stuff, new areas that in them itself flesh out the story, the plot, the lore, whatever. Just flesh things out. Don't just do throwaway mechanical quests.
Yeah.
Everything should mesh together. That's what I'm also apprehensive about, that they might not fulfill this wish.
Mm-hmm.
That there are aspects of the questing system that just is there to have you play longer.
Yeah.
And another thing is newly introduced but unnecessary story or plot elements or plot devices that are there, are new, extend the story, but don't really add anything. Like, for example, in Wall Market, the reason why the reason why they do cross-dress is they need to go into Don Cornea's mansion. Only women are allowed. Okay, let's have Cloud cross-dress to not make a commotion and make a big deal out of it and have the whole army against themselves. Cross-dress, get in, good. And please don't introduce other elements that serve as the same or serve as a reason for the same outcome. So everything new that they introduce should have a purpose on their own and feel needed. Not that it's just, it's something new, but it's not really needed. It's everything would work the same without them. That's something I really don't want to. Also, fan service could be good in some way, like hidden details or hidden hints or like Easter eggs and stuff, but not fan service that is blatantly there just for fan service.
Mm-hmm.
It should also make sense to be there. Like, let's say a graffiti on a wall saying something, alluding, like, for example, this guy or sick is maybe a graffiti somewhere. Maybe some kid did it and didn't know grammar. Or something else, but don't just... How should I say this? Any fan service should be integrated in a way that feels natural or feels natural and just fits in and doesn't stand out and, oh, hey, here is this guy, here's this character, here's this quote from this game, please.
Or it's just a direct copy of an NPC from 15.
Yeah, or something like that, yeah. Fan service is good, but integrated in a meaningful way. That's what I want to say.
Let's bring back that photo guy from 15. I would love to see him in this game. Oh my god. I wonder how he's doing this whole time.
Yeah. No, please no.
Yeah,
oh boy.
I liked what you said before about adding plot, like fleshing out the characters and adding plot devices, but they don't go anywhere. They don't service the story, like to push the
Mm,
story forward. They're just there for the sake of being there because they told us that this was going to be a larger world and we were going to be able to play this game like a
mm,
full main series game, and they're just adding it in,
exactly.
and there's no payoff, and they just add it in when that time is being wasted from what we could actually be spending time doing with the main party, who we care about. Like, that's who we care about. Like, if you're introducing new characters, you have to make us care about them. Like, that's the thing. Like, we've spent so many
Mm,
years and time with the same characters that it's going to be really hard to introduce new characters and not have them feel like just add-ins. So they've got a challenge. So I really hope that it works out.
definitely. Also, please don't retcon the fundamental elements of the story. Like,
Mm-hmm.
changing a few things within the framework, it's fine, but the framework should stay like the main chain of events, the main story, the main thing, the main like world that makes Final Fantasy, the main story, plots, characters should, and the main goal, the final goal, should all remain the same. Like, okay, there's an additional Genoa battle in the Shinra headquarters. Fine, that's good. If President Shinra still dies, if they still escape on the vehicles via the highway and then go to Calm afterwards, that's completely fine with me. Within, between those main events, can do what you want as long as it fits within and the main chain of events still stays the same. That's my request.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, contents that might not feel like Final Fantasy VII. Additionally, in addition to what you said, is like there are many open world games that have similar mechanics, like those outlook towers that reveal the whole area, like those towers you climb in Assassin's Creed, for example, or the long necks in Horizon Zero Dawn, for example. Such things we don't really need because it's not an open world. Or base busting, like those bases.
Yeah.
Okay, go bust the Niflheim base.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, in one of the bases it had more story elements with Ravis and Arden that came there,
Mm-hmm.
and where we had to retrieve the regalia.
Yeah.
But if this is just a one-off thing, it's good. But not, oh, we have busted this base. Now go bust this and this and this and this base too. Like reactors number 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
6, 7, 8, 2. No, please. Not such repetitive stuff that's usually found in open world games.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII, especially the Midgar segment, is better off with individual elements, like unique set pieces, unique areas, and you just stay a little while in one area, then you move on to the next, and then to the next, and then to the next.
Mm-hmm.
Not too much backtracking. Maybe a little bit more because it's now a full game, but yeah. Also, as you said, like the mobile approach, I'm going a step further and say massive multiplayer online games or mobile games, not as additional games, but like elements that are common there
Mm-hmm.
that slip into a single player game. Especially content that's just wasting your time.
Yeah.
Just to enlarge the game time. That's please no. That's not part of Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII is, as I said, set piece based,
Mm-hmm.
like an Uncharted game.
Yeah.
Just in an RPG format and a little bit more epic.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I've also heard people talk about, like, if they start including everyday real life situations shoehorned in, for example, yeah, go pick Marlene up from school with Barrett, or see Tifa filing taxes, or I don't know, just some mundane some mundane crap that's please no, it should be an epic adventure, cool characters, great campy dialogue, and please no.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Tifa, you need to file your taxes. Go fill out the paperwork, and then pick
Yeah.
up Marlene from school. Oh my god, like it's Final Fantasy VII like sim,
Yep.
right? Like
Sims.
real life sim. Like you're in the world,
Yeah.
you have a job, you go home, this is what you do. Like,
Yeah.
and also thanks for reminding me that I have to file my taxes, Viz. So I really appreciate.
Oh, I need to do that too. Yeah. Crap. Yeah. Anyway, then in addition to your points, what Final Fantasy VII Remake needs to actually feel like Final Fantasy VII is, as I said, the seriousness and campiness mixed into each other. What I really like is there are many serious moments, many serious scenes and segments, but some comedic blips are just scattered all about the place. As I've mentioned before, with Wedge jumping over the incapacitated guard on the train platform. It's just little things like that just make you raise an eyebrow and then chuckle to yourself.
Yeah, even the characters just going.
Yeah. It's a serious matter. It's an act of terrorism. It's an intrusion. It's a raid on a reactor, a bombing mission. It's nothing happy about that. It's that serious, but it's relieved and kind of played light a little with those tiny little things. And we as an audience, we need that just pure darkness, pure evilness, pure seriousness. This just doesn't work. It needs a balance.
Yeah.
And the original Final Fantasy VII did this masterfully, I think. And we also mentioned before the mix between old, vintage, and retro, and the modern technology like flat screens everywhere and even holograms. But then we have bicycles and cars that look old and old. Yeah, the architecture that doesn't look modern at all, mixed with the modern architecture, like is
exactly
constant mix, and also mix in clothing styles, and bring a knife to a fist fight, or no, wait, is it the other? No, bring a knife to a gunfight, exactly, with Cloud and the sword against a soldier with a gun. This stuff like that just needs to be. Of course, this is not exclusive to Final Fantasy VII, but it's a big part of it, at least. And the steampunk elements, the ridiculous enemy designs, and so far they've been true to that. Like the Hell House needs to be there.
Yeah.
What's also all over the place in this game is that looks can be or even are deceiving. It looks one way, and you have an idea in your head, but then it turns everything upside down, and it's actually completely different. The best example is Aerith and Tifa. If you just see Aerith and Tifa's design without knowing them, you think, oh, that's a flower girl. That's a nice girl that maybe a little bit shy and is correct every time and has a nice language and stuff. And Tifa is the strong gal, the extroverted, that maybe even flirty. How revealing she dresses, but it's actually the complete opposite. Aerith is the spunky, kind of rebel a little, and doesn't shy away from making other people uncomfortable, says what she thinks. But Tifa is very introverted, barely ever brings it over her heart, or brings herself to tell Cloud more about what's inconsistent with what he says about Soldier First Class and about knowing stuff she thinks he shouldn't know. Yeah, it's just completely different, and it's also that can also be seen all over Midgar. If that's in, and it can be felt all over the place, then it feels like Final Fantasy VII. And another point that's really important is actions have consequences, and people do die. They don't just come back to life, or were just injured, like in Final Fantasy IV, where Sid survives. Palam and Poram survive also. Then I think the monk also comes back, and I don't think anyone dies of them. So here we know, spoiler alert, Jesse Biggs and Wedge die, and the whole Sector 7 dies.
Yeah.
Irreversibly, gone.
Mm-hmm.
In the later part, Aerith dies, gone. No going back.
Yeah.
One exception being Kate Sith, but that's because it's not a living thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's also something. Actions have consequences, and you
Mhm.
see them, and everything is finite.
Yeah.
No going back. Yeah, I think that's about it. What I think needs to be
Mhm.
in there to make it feel like Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, I really like what you said about actions have consequences and people die because they do die in the original. Like people, we see a lot of, we see murder, we see suicide, we're seeing, death by other circumstances that have no control, like you have no control over. Just people just
Yeah.
dying when the plate falls, and a bunch of people die. Like it's so dark, and they shouldn't shy away from that. They shouldn't.
Yep.
I'm not saying they have to show people getting their limbs cut off. Like that's
No,
never
no.
gonna happen. Like that's not
No,
gonna
not
happen.
really.
But like, just to keep that in there and not cushion us from that, because we don't need protecting. Like we've played
Nope.
the original, and if you haven't played the original, then those people are gonna feel something when that happens, and that's what video games are. You should feel
Yeah.
something. Like, I mean, an RPG, like a JRPG is about that. Like some games, MOBAs, okay, maybe I don't feel anything for when I'm playing Dota 2. Like it's not a story-driven game, but
No, it's not.
in this game, it is. So I really like that. And you see this a lot with like Disney and Star Wars, the new Star Wars movie. The movies, they're just cushioning everybody from
definitely.
anything that might make them feel sadness or some kind of emotion. They just can't even stick with what I don't even know what they wanted us to feel, honestly, for the new Star Wars movies. But
Nothing.
I never felt anything, because when I
Sell us
started
toys.
exactly, I started to feel something, but then they took it away because they were like, it was like everything was perfect. No, but that's not what people want. Maybe little kids want that. I don't know. But anyways, I agree with everything that you said. So, and just quickly moving on to the next part here. So talking about news. So it appears that Sony has pulled out of PAX East. So PAX East is happening next weekend from February 27th to March 1st. And it looks like Sony decided to pull out of the event due to the ongoing threat of the coronavirus. So I did pull just a quote from the PlayStation blog that posted an article with their statement. So it said, today, Sony Interactive Entertainment made the decision to cancel its participation at PAX East in Boston this year due to the increasing concerns related to the coronavirus. We felt that this is the safest option as the situation is changing daily. We're disappointed to cancel our participation in the event, but health and safety of our global workforce is our highest concern. So it looks like the mayor of Boston actually went out and asked Sony to reverse their decision on pulling out of PAX East. That was yesterday. I don't think that Sony has issued a statement, like a response to the mayor of Boston about that, but he kind of implied that, the risk of contracting the virus is really, really, really low. So he basically said that Sony should be basing their decisions on facts and not fears. So I think this is a hard one. I respect Sony's decision to cancel their plans to participate at PAX. I think that people are disappointed, and I can understand why people are disappointed. They've already bought their tickets. They were expecting to be able to go and play a demo of The Last of Us 2, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and a bunch of other games. In my opinion, I think it's better to be safe than sorry. And Sony being a global international company with so many different employees, like, I don't know what employees are going to be at PAX East. I don't know if they're traveling from other parts of the world to go there. I'm sure there are people that are traveling from all over the world to go to PAX East. And I guess their thought was, we don't want anybody to get sick, so we're just not gonna go. So I did look up on the CDC website to just look and see like how the virus is spread. So it can be spread between people who are in close contact to one another, about 6 feet. And it's spread through respiratory droplets in the air. So if somebody coughs or sneezes, somebody can get it. And also from touching surfaces that somebody who's infected might have touched, but it doesn't stay alive very long on the surfaces. And they just say that you can actually get rid of it by using ethanol and like hand sanitizer and that sort of thing, which is good. But I can understand, because if there's people sitting next to each other so close, you know, and like with people doing their presentations and stuff, I don't know. It's just kind of sketch, and I understand both aspects. So
Also, traveling by plane is probably also a factor.
exactly. And also, like I said, people are traveling from all over the world to go to the event, and people that work for Sony work in other countries as well as the US, Canada, like everywhere. So imagine if an employee gets sick and then dies, like a Sony employee. I'm just saying, like, do you know how terrible that would be for the company? You know, and them
Mm.
and I appreciate them taking the precautions necessary to prevent that from happening. I'm not saying that would happen. I don't know, but there's been cases. There's been an outbreak in Iran. There's been an outbreak in South Korea at a church. Somebody didn't even know that they had it, and they were sitting close to each other at a church, because that's what in a church you sit in a, you know, really close to somebody. Somebody's coughing. You don't think you're gonna get it. All those people got it. All of those people got it. So it's just, I don't know. Like if I was going to PAX, I would go with a mask. I would be prepared so that I can take necessary precautions for myself so I don't get it as a patron that's just paying to go there. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you just don't know. And it's spreading. It's spreading. And it's easy to get. And people don't know that they have it until it can be 3 to 10 days that you have it in your system. And then
Even more, I heard.
yeah, and then you start getting like headaches and fevers, and then you start coughing, and then that's when you're the most contagious. But you're still contagious even just coughing when you're out and you don't even know that you have it and you haven't shown any symptoms. Like that's the thing. Like you know, it's really difficult. And I was also listening to another gaming podcast, and they were talking about how it's disappointing because now people won't be able to get to play the games that they could originally play. Well, I looked it up, and Square Enix is going to be there with the Final Fantasy VII Remake. They do have booths set up. People are still going to be able to play the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo at PAX East. And I did pull the booth number from the Gamatsu article. So it says it's booth number 12011. They will have a playable game demo of Final Fantasy VII Remake. They're going to have a signing session with the voice actors that are there for the game, with specific times that you can go to get, you know, some autographs there. And then also there's a photo opportunity. They're going to have the Hardy Daytona there that you can get on and take a photo with. There's going to be a giveaway. They're giving away posters featuring new artwork of the cast of the game. So, you know, they are going to have a presence there, and they still are going, even if Sony isn't going to be there, you're still going to get a chance to be able to play the remake. So, because the other podcast had said that people aren't going to be able to play the remake there, but you will be able to play the remake because Square Enix is still going to be there. The Last of Us 2, I don't know. I don't think so. I think that Sony was the one responsible for doing the booth for The Last of Us 2. I don't know. But
most likely, yeah.
It seems like Square's going to be there. So go show your support at PAX East for Square Enix. Try the demo. And yeah, you can share your experience at PAX East with us. That would be awesome when you guys get back and to talk about that. All right, Vyzz. So what are you playing right now? I am playing Wolcen, Lords of the Fallen. I got it. I'm loving it. It's very similar to Diablo 3, but it does have a lot of differentiating factors, like the customization options with your skill set are amazing. The leveling system, like for example, I'm a sorcerer. I love being kind of a caster in all these games that I play, but you can also play with, you can have caster skills, but you can still attack people with a physical weapon if you wanted to do that. So you can build up character stats and make them kind of like this broody, powerful sorcerer, basically, which a lot of the games, like if you choose a sorcerer, your path is already chosen for you. And the kind of the abilities that you get are just tied to a sorcerer or a caster in those games, but this is not. This is like you literally pick up different abilities that you can activate, that you can use with any character. It doesn't matter if it's for, a barbarian or a sorcerer or whatever. A sorcerer can still use those attacks when they use a weapon, like a physical weapon instead of like a staff or something, which I think is amazing. Anyway, sorry, I've talked a lot
Yeah,
about
no
that.
worries.
So what have you been playing?
Currently, unfortunately, nothing, because there's so much stuff that's taking off my time.
Mm-hmm.
The most offender is, of course, my day job. So I've only have time from 4 p.m. onwards.
Oh, who needs a day
Usually.
job, Vyzz? Come
Yeah.
on. Who needs a day job? Why aren't you
Yeah,
just quit and
Yeah.
do your Cosmo Canyon Observatory full time? Come on.
Yeah, with social services in my neck, no thanks. Yeah. Anyway, of course, Cosmo Canyon Observatory channel has me also
Mm-hmm.
use up so much time each day.
Yeah.
Friends and family, which I sometimes have to
Mm-hmm.
also please.
Yeah.
And I've been to a concert lately. There have been birthdays
Mhm.
and some other things. It's been crazy, and I kind of miss it. But just starting a game
I know.
with 1 hour left playtime doesn't really do me any good. So
I totally hear you.
yeah, it's crap. I hope I get to play another game before the FF7 remake comes out.
Mm-hmm.
But at least on April 10th, I have something to play for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Because I can mix it or include it with the work for Cosmo Canyon Observatory.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same. I've just been really busy with friends and family and also everything else that's been going on. Like at work and everything, it's been a lot to kind of juggle everything. So we are doing this as a passion project as well. And,
Yep.
we work outside of just doing these things and making this content for you guys. So sometimes, it takes a little bit longer. So we appreciate everybody, being patient with us for when we release our episodes and staying with us and tuning in. We really appreciate that. So I just want to go ahead and I want to remind everybody of the giveaway that we are doing. We are giving away a copy of the physical deluxe edition of the Final Fantasy VII Remake to one lucky listener. All you have to do is subscribe to the podcast on any of the podcast platforms that you listen to your podcasts, leave a 5-star review, write a text review, and the draw will hopefully be happening the week of the game coming out, which is April the 6th. I think that's when our episode will be released. So tune in then to see if you were chosen for the giveaway. All right, guys. So if you guys have any questions or any ideas for any topics that we can cover in our next episodes, make sure that you write into the podcast. And our email is thereunionpodcast@gmail.com. Thereunionpodcast@gmail.com. We do have a social media Twitter account. We have a YouTube account as well. It's at reunion_podcast. You can search us on YouTube. Also, we do have a Discord community. Our Discord link is always posted in the description of each episode that we post. So all you have to do is click on the link to be able to be added to our Discord server. I just want to let everybody know as well, next weekend, next Saturday, I'll be in Toronto at the Final Fantasy VII Remake launch party, which is being presented by KupoCon. I got a VIP pass for the event, so I'm super stoked about that. It looks like I'll be able to get into the event a little earlier than other people. And I'm getting a pretty awesome goodie bag. Looks like I'm getting some Tripom exclusive Final Fantasy VII cards. So those cards are actually just KupoCon's version of Triple Triad, which was the mini game that was in Final Fantasy VIII. And you can actually play it with your friends with a full deck of cards. I'll be getting it looks like an album, a Melodies of Midgar album, which is an exclusive album to KupoCon. And then also a Final Fantasy VII Remake game case that's exclusive to KupoCon that I can put my game in, which I think is super awesome. So I can't wait to go. And if you guys see me there, I'll be wearing a reunion t-shirt and I'll be handing out t-shirts and stickers there. So if you see me, come up to me, we'll have a chat, I'll record our conversation, and hopefully you can have a chance at being on the podcast. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Kairosis signing off, and take care.
Yeah, take care, guys.